Chapter 1571. Everyone was condemning her as if they were facing a trial. Liang Ru knelt on the ground with a depressed look as if she had lost the courage to live. But at this time, Li Fan suddenly shouted, "All of you shut up." His voice was like a clap of thunder, and it shook the ears of everyone who was cursing him to the point that their ears hurt, and they almost fainted. Liang Ru raised her head blankly and looked at Li Fan, who was standing there. At this time, Li Fan's appearance had changed. Although it was only a slight change, he was no longer the Li Yun that she knew. Instead, he was the awe-inspiring and righteous seven-hero Villa Master Li Fan that she had seen on TV. "Selfish trash, shut up." Li Fan bluntly scolded, "One more word of bullshit and even if he doesn't detonate the bomb, I will twist your heads off one by one. You're Liang Ru's bodyguard. I think you're a martial artist. I've seen you on TV." The violinist shouted at Li Fan, "What right do you have to decide our life and death? Who do you think you are? I'm a musician with a bright future. You know I..." Without waiting for him to finish, Li Fan suddenly appeared beside him and waved his hand, giving him a slap. Paw! With a crisp sound, the musician with a bright future spun and flew up, crashing into a chair at the side, knocking over a large row of chairs. "Who's talking nonsense? Let me hear it," Li Fan asked while wiping his hands on the curtain next to him. It was as if his hand had been rubbed by something dirty. Li Fan's move stunned everyone. Now, no one dared to speak. Just when the saint wanted to continue to provoke, Li Fan suddenly turned his head and directly slapped the air at the saint. Mysterious dragon ice palm overturning the sky and stirring the sea. The saint emissary's body was blown away by the wind from the palm. In the blink of an eye, he flew 7 to 8 meters away and slammed into the wall behind him. His whole body was stuck to the wall, and a layer of frost formed on his body, freezing him to the wall. As Li Fan practiced Taiji in reverse, his strength kept increasing, and his mystic dragon ice palm also became more proficient. Li Fan divided them into 2 levels based on the strength of the Grandmaster and the 9-tailed divine fox. Above the saint tier was the immortal tier. Above the immortal tier should be the heavenly immortals of the realm beyond heaven. It was said that their strength was even more ferocious, far surpassing the upper immortals and lower immortals. Perhaps they should be called the god tier. Exalted immortals were at the immortal realm, while inferior immortals were at the half-immortal realm. Li Fan cultivated day by day, improving his Taiji painting was his strength. He can feel that he is slowly approaching the half-immortal realm. Li Fan believes that as long as he can reach the half-immortal realm, he can even fight against the so-called ascendant immortals. Although he didn't know any celestial techniques, he had a whole body of martial arts. Who said that martial arts can't beat celestial techniques? Li Fan just had to turn the tables and make everyone's jaws drop. "You don't seem to believe me." Li Fan crossed his arms and looked at the saint emissary who was frozen on the wall. "I said that your bomb is useless, but you are still so noisy." "Ha, if it was useless, you wouldn't have thrown the bomb just now." The saint emissary was shivering, but he was laughing loudly. Even though his voice was trembling, he was confident. "Let me tell you, this method is useless against me. Also, I won't give you any more chances. Let's go together." The saint emissary didn't waste any more words and finally pressed the remote control. But at this moment, Li Fan stretched out his hand and condensed his inner strength to create the true dragon golden body, which instantly wrapped around the saint emissary's body. Rumble. In a golden light, the flesh started to swell and then explode. Red flames surged inside, but the space outside was not affected. Li Fan's control over his inner strength had also improved. Now, he could use the true dragon golden body at will and use it on other people. The effect of the golden body was mutual. It was invincible to the outside and invincible to the inside. This level of explosion was not enough to break his true dragon golden body. Therefore, the saint emissary was trapped in a cocoon and was pierced by the golden body until not even his bones were left. Didn't I say that it's useless? Why don't you stop? Li Fan shrugged, then pushed his palm, sending the image of the real body he had created into the sky, and then dispersed it. Bang, bang, bang. The compressed energy was released as the true dragon golden body dissipated and exploded in the air again. It was deafening. Blood rain fell and through the hole in the ceiling, it sprinkled on the concert hall. The blood rain fell on Li Fan's head and seemed to be afraid of Li Fan and fell to the side. Everyone looked at Li Fan's back in a daze. Is this Li Fan, the legendary villa master of Seven Knights Villa, the last martial artist who single-handedly held up the Chinese pugilistic world? This guy seems to be really powerful. Li Fan stood there and watched the door being knocked open. He watched the people from the National Security Agency rush in with a group of special police officers and quickly surround the place. Then, they began to clean up the battlefield. He was very calm and indifferent. He won, but it seemed to be a Pyrrhic victory. Liang Ru stood on the stage and looked at him with a very strange gaze. I want to complain about him. When the violinist, who had quietened down earlier, saw the special forces rush in, it was as if he had found a backer. He began to make a ruckus again and pointed at Li Fan. He's also a terrorist. He hit me and threatened to kill everyone. He roared, what I said is true. Who thinks that I'm spreading rumors? Point it out, point it out. No one said anything. Although Li Fan saved them, he also offended these people. This Li Fan was quite capable and dared to be so lawless. They were all famous musicians, but now, they were threatened by Li Fan. Although they were saved, it was only because the special police officers arrived in time. Maybe the police had arranged for Li Fan to be here to save them. This had nothing to do with Li Fan. It was all the police's credit. The police were right, but this Li Fan obviously had no respect for the law and did not know how to respect others. He had violated the law and had to be punished. The only mistake of these policemen was that they found an unreliable martial artist. Wasn't there such a martial artist in Huaxia? Anyone could be better than Li Fan, right? Alright, if you want to complain, go to the prosecutor's office or the Commission for Discipline Inspection. Xiao Chen was also in the crowd. When he heard the violinist's shouts, he rolled his eyes. Don't disturb us. Move aside. My friend is in the Commission for Discipline Inspection. I will also remember your employee number. I will also complain about you. The violinist kept shouting. Li Fan stood there with his arms crossed, his face as dark as water. And Jing walked out from behind the scenes. She was wearing a police uniform and walked to Li Fan's side. It's over. And Jing looked at Li Fan and said, you can return to the team now. Chapter 1572. You're returning just like that. Li Fan stood there quietly, watching Jing. Aren't there still 6 days? We've already found the base of the bay. It's a high-end bath, Jing said. Jing said, by following the clues, we also destroyed a few special agent agencies and basically cleaned them up. Furthermore, since your identity has been exposed, you can no longer stay by Liang Ru's side. From today onwards, a new person will take over your job. Upon hearing this beautiful colleague's words, Li Fan smiled bitterly. It was over. It was over just like that. That was good too. This wasn't his home to begin with. It was time for him to end his work here and prepare to participate in China's martial arts tournament. Li Fan originally didn't wish to participate, but Jiang Feng would definitely participate. This fellow was definitely aiming for the true immortal art. And if those people in the pugilistic world were to obtain the true immortal art, there would probably be a bloodbath in the pugilistic world. Furthermore, the true immortal art was a scam to begin with. When that happened, the entire pugilistic world would probably be plunged into misery and annihilated. In order for the pugilistic world to continue surviving, Li Fan had to participate in this martial arts tournament. Just as Li Fan was about to leave, a figure suddenly appeared in front of him. Li Fan stopped in his tracks. It was none other than Liang Ru. The little lass looked at Li Fan with a somewhat unfamiliar gaze, but there was also an indescribable anger in it. Liang Ru. Before Li Fan could finish his sentence, Liang Ru suddenly extended her hand and slapped Li Fan. With Li Fan's abilities, he could have easily dodged it. However, he didn't and directly took the slap. "I hate you." With that said, Liang Ru turned and ran. A few special police officers immediately followed. They had to replace Li Fan and protect Liang Ru. From now on, these people had to protect Liang Ru 24/7 until the deputy national leader completed the plan to reclaim Bei Bei. Dragon God number 1 was already prepared in the sky. As long as Bei Bei objected to the peaceful unification, China's fleet would enter Bei Bei. The United States might use this as an excuse to directly send troops to interfere with China's internal affairs. Even if they don't send troops and just lend the military equipment to Taiwan, it will be enough to make China suffer. However, things were different now. With the Dragon God number 1, China was practically invincible in the skies. As long as the Dragon God number 1 was dispatched, it would be able to seal off the American Empire's advance. This time, China announced to the outside world that they would be subduing Taiwan. This was China's internal affairs, and they asked other countries not to interfere in their internal affairs. Otherwise, it would be seen as a declaration of war. After a few decades, Huaxia once again made this statement. "This is too much." The American Secretary of Defense slammed the table. "China is simply looking down on us this time. What else could we do? Start a war." The president laughed bitterly. "Once war breaks out, who knows how many people in our country will oppose it. When the time comes, the war will be over very soon. We can't lose Wan." The people in the cabinet were all reminding the president, "Once we lose Bei Bei, our hegemony will truly be over. I know we can't lose Bei Bei, but we don't have any cards to play now." The president shook his head. "We are very passive. The voices in our country are actually very easy to deal with." The Secretary of Defense reminded. "Your Excellency, did you forget about Pearl Harbor? You are saying, to let China experience another Pearl Harbor. As long as we facilitate this, it will be possible." The Secretary of Defense nodded. "As long as everyone thinks that it was China who did it, they will immediately unite and start a war with China." "I understand what you mean, but even so, are we really going to be involved in a war with China?" The word war was unusually heavy. It wasn't a child's quarrel, nor was it a show of strength that the American Empire liked. Once there was a war, money would be spent, people would die, and there would be sacrifices. "No matter what, we cannot let China subdue Bei Bei." The Secretary of Defense exhorted again and again. "Your Excellency, this is our last chance. When we assassinated Liang Ru, you also said that this was our last chance." The president laughed bitterly. "How many last chances do we have? That Li Fan is really too troublesome." The Secretary of Defense was also having a headache. "I don't know why, he should have been killed by number 9, but he is still alive and lurking around Liang Ru. This Li Fan is our biggest enemy." "Oh right, how is number 9 now?" "He is now living in Tel City in the southeast." The Secretary of Defense reported. "I heard, he has done a lot of good deeds and everyone calls him a hero." Hero. When the president heard this, he was stunned. That's quite ironic. No matter what, he should not be a threat at the moment. But we have not relaxed our surveillance on him. This person doesn't have a large-scale operation, just keep monitoring him. Although he knew that Number 9 had killed a few people, the Secretary of Defense did not pursue this matter. Number 9 was still the American Empire's secret weapon. He was still useful. Also, this reporter, Windsor, she seems to be very important to Number 9. We need to focus on her. Okay, we will do as you say. The president nodded and gave a new order. Focus on these people. As for China, we do not need to be anxious. Denounce them first, don't let us be in a passive position. Yes. Everyone went to carry out the order. On the other side, Li Fan packed his luggage and was preparing to leave Imperial City University. After living here for almost 3 months, Li Fan felt that he was getting used to the life here. Every day, at 2:00, in the classroom, in the dormitory. Every day, he only revolved around one woman, and that was Liang Ru. Now that he had left Liang Ru, he was still not used to it. However, this was normal. The adaptability of humans was too strong. He had unknowingly adapted to this place, so he should be able to quickly adapt to the new life. Master, let's go. Chiu stood beside Li Fan and asked softly. Okay. Li Fan nodded. He was wearing black sportswear and standing in front of the dormitory. He did not move for a long time. Master, are you waiting for someone? Chiu asked. No, let's go. Li Fan raised his head subconsciously and took a look. Then, he walked out. He came cleanly and left cleanly. This was good. Just as Li Fan was about to leave, a bicycle suddenly rushed in front of him and blocked his way. Li Fan's heart sank. What was to come would come. Don't you have anything to say to me before you leave? Chapter 1573. With one foot on the ground, Liang Ru looked at Li Fan seriously as if waiting for him to say something. Say what? Li Fan looked at Liang Ru as his heart sank. This girl actually appeared. I feel a little depressed, but also a little happy. Just say what you should say. Do I need to teach you? Liang Ru stared at Li Fan as if she wanted to see through Li Fan's heart. If you don't teach me, I don't know what to say. Li Fan smiled bitterly. Li Fan, I really hate you. Liang Ru originally wanted to call out Li Yun, but when she recalled that he was not this person, her heart felt even more uncomfortable. My parents abandoned me, and that Luo Bei lied to me. I thought my life was in a mess, but unexpectedly, you appeared. I really thought that I could believe you. You could bring me a new life. But unexpectedly, you also approached me with a mask. Li Fan, you're not a martial artist, you're a liar. Big liar. Li Fan did not refute. At this moment, he also felt like a liar. Maybe you think I'm lying to you. Li Fan also said what was on his mind, but I didn't. Only my identity is fake. Everything else I've told you is the truth. Including me telling you that I have a girlfriend, and my life is not connected to yours. You're right. Liang Ru nodded. She suddenly raised her chin and looked at Li Fan with a victorious attitude, so I'll give you a choice. Either you take me away, to your place. Nonsense. You still have to go to school. Li Fan frowned. How could he live after abducting the daughter of the country's leader? The country already disliked him. If he were to do this again. You don't dare. Liang Ru seemed to see through Li Fan's thoughts as she sneered at him. That's not it. You don't like me? Liang Ru asked again. Liang Ru, when I accepted your mission, the first thing my superiors told me was that I cannot have feelings for you. Li Fan reminded Liang Ru, you're the daughter of a deputy national leader, while I'm an exiled person from China. If you follow me, you might even implicate your family. I don't care. I just want to live my life according to my own ideas. Then you are too willful. Li Fan bluntly criticized her. Your father was conscientious and devoted his whole life to building the country. And you turned him into a naked official just because of your love affair. In China, naked officials could not be promoted. If Liang Ru was determined to follow Li Fan, she might be expelled from China, and her father might have to step down from his position as a deputy state. That's his problem, not mine. Why should I be responsible for him? Liang Ru stomped her foot. Can't I even have my own life? Everyone has to be responsible for their own life. Li Fan said, you were born into such a family. You have gained something from this family, and you have also lost something. This is your fate. You actually believe in fate. Liang Ru took out a book and threw it in front of Li Fan. I've read this book countless times. You're a guy who doesn't like to succumb to fate. Li Fan looked down and was stunned. Fuck. The Last Wuxia, the biography of Li Fan. Which big brother came up with this, and even published such a book? What, The Last Wuxia? There were thousands of martial artists in China. When was it his turn to be the last wuxia? This title was too heavy for him to bear. Li Fan glanced at the publishing house. Motherfucker. Sure enough, it was Lu Wan who found someone to publish it. They were treating themselves as big APs. Not only were they producing movies and TV shows, they were even producing novels now. It's written clearly on it how you turn from an ordinary, mediocre high school student into a great master whose name shook the martial world. It's a novel. There will be some exaggerations. Li Fan laughed dryly. Don't take it too seriously. This book has supported me for a long time. Liang Ru's gaze was firm. I believe that one day, I can also defeat fate. Maybe, but I feel that now is not the time. Li Fan turned his head. Let's end our story here. Even if it's a novel, there will be an ending sooner or later. I still want to write my story. As Liang Ru spoke, she picked up the violin stand at the side and took out the violin inside. Then, she smashed it heavily on the ground. This expensive violin was smashed into pieces. I don't want to learn the violin anymore. From today onwards, I, Liang Ru, will learn martial arts from you, Li Fan. Your behavior, other than proving that you are a prodigal, has no other value. Li Fan felt that Liang Ru's behavior was a bit childish. Alright, I'm leaving. You can choose your own life, but don't pester me. Li Fan said those harsh words in order to make Liang Ru give up on this thought. Long pain was better than short pain, and short pain was better than no pain. I've already made up my mind. You can't change my mind. Really? Li Fan suddenly pointed behind Liang Ru. Auntie, why are you here? Mom is here. Liang Ru immediately turned around to look. At this moment, Li Fan's hand suddenly landed on her neck. With a smack, Liang Ru fainted and was carried by Li Fan. A policewoman walked out and extended her hand, letting Li Fan pass Liang Ru into her arms. Silly girl, you still have a long way to go. Li Fan looked at the fainted Liang Ru and couldn't help but stretch out his hand and gently ruffled her hair. Your violin is really good. If there's a chance, I want to listen to it again. With that, Li Fan left with Chiu without looking back. On the way, Chiu couldn't help but ask Li Fan. Master, is this really okay? There's a distance between me and her. Li Fan immediately said, this is even better. Don't tell me you're really going to let her follow me to become homeless. Li Fan was grounded. As a member of the National Security Ninth Bureau, he couldn't leave China and couldn't enter the Li family island. However, Li Fan was currently in China and didn't have a fixed residence. The Seven Knights villa had already moved away. Li Fan didn't even have a property. He was more like a jobless person. Don't worry, master. We've already arranged a property for you. Chiao seemed to have seen through Li Fan's thoughts and said, "It's still in Spanish equinox, at the seaside. With the help of Lu Wan, and Lin Yuhsian, we bought a house with a sea view for you." Fuck, does that mean I have to live a corrupt life? Chapter 1574. Li Fan did not expect that he would be able to usher in such a comfortable life. Right now, he was sitting on the balcony of his villa. As he gazed at the sea under the setting sun, he struck a unique pose. One of his hands was facing the sky, while the other was facing the ground. He stood on one leg and maintained his unique breathing technique. This was a pose that Li Fan had created. With this pose, he could absorb the vital energy of heaven and earth more efficiently. The vital energy would enter his body and reside in the Taiji diagram within him. Right now, Li Fan's Taiji diagram was spinning continuously. It spun 180 times, then 180 times in the opposite direction. It tempered and strengthened his strength over and over again. The 4 beautiful female sword attendants who served him were also strengthened by his inner energy. Li Fan was like a cultivation furnace. Even if the people beside him didn't know any martial arts, they would still be strengthened. They would turn from an ordinary person to an inner strength expert. Furthermore, the vital energy that he cultivated was very strong. It was very different from ordinary vital energy. Master's abilities have increased again. Chiao hugged her shoulders tightly. There was a look of desire in her eyes. "Ah, I really hope that Master can use his great strength to whip me." Crazy woman. Chun reminded Chiao, Hubby doesn't like this. Have you forgotten? But I can't help it, Chiao rubbed her legs. I finally have a new master. I want to use him properly. If you let your imagination run wild again, I'll smash your perverted brain. Xia couldn't take it anymore. She glared at Chiao. Master's abilities have increased a lot. Even we have improved a little. Dong checked her own abilities. If we work together, we should be able to fight a half-sage. Not enough. Xia gritted her teeth. The 4 of us must be able to defeat a sage. Mr. Future's opponent is someone even stronger than a sage. That's right. Chun agreed. We must continue to strengthen the 4 emblem sword formation. I have a new idea about this. Dong said, through my modifications, I can double, triple, or even triple the strength of the sword formation. Dong is indeed the best. Xia hugged Dong happily and spun around on the spot. It seems like Dong cares a lot about Master. Chiao licked her lips. Do you want to serve Master with me? What nonsense are you spouting? Dong turned her head away. I just don't want him to lose too badly. Yes. Then let's all start practicing. The 4 sisters also began to train their strength. At the same time, Li Fan also entered a new stage of cultivation. He was increasing his strength every day. Li Fan felt that he already had the strength of 5 martial saints. However, this kind of quantitative growth was not considered a qualitative improvement. If he wanted to become stronger, apart from practicing the yin-yang sword of dragon and phoenix with Murong-ing, he could only rely on practicing Tai Chi in reverse to increase his inner strength. Kid, your current strength is still far from the inferior immortal level. Just as Li Fan felt confident, the nine-tailed divine fox suddenly appeared and floated in front of Li Fan. She turned into a passionate look and sat on the railing of the balcony. However, I still think highly of your potential. The nine-tailed divine fox winked at Li Fan. Li Fan had enough of this psychopath with two personalities. How big is the gap between me and an inferior immortal? Li Fan really wanted to know the answer to this question so that he would have a direction to work towards. Aunt, I will tell you. Don't be so scared that you wet your pants. Of course, there is a difference between humans and immortals. For example, before I broke through the void, I was also a great demon cultivator with the strength of a sky immortal. However, I wasted a lot of my energy by breaking through the void. When I finally arrived here, I was only left with the strength of an inferior immortal. Listen carefully, your so-called sage level requires at least 10 sage level cultivators to have the strength of an inferior immortal. When I was at my peak, inferior immortals were like ants. Inferior immortals are actually very simple. An exalted immortal is equivalent to the strength of 10 inferior immortals. A sky immortal is equivalent to the strength of 10 exalted immortals. The nine-tailed divine fox played two roles and explained to Li Fan the difference in the strength levels of the human realm upon heavens. So, if you want to become stronger, you still have a long way to go. The nine-tailed divine fox finally made her way over to Li Fan before extending a hand and gently tapping Li Fan's forehead. However, if you borrow my strength and add it to your original strength, you can just barely fight with an inferior immortal. I have a powerful technique called the Heavenly Fox Heart Sutra that I can impart to you. After you learn it, your strength will increase by 10 times. After all, it is a real cultivation technique. The nine-tailed divine fox rolled his eyes. Do you think I am an idiot? Li Fan sneered. Divine Fox Heart Sutra. It sounds like a cultivation technique for demons. I am a human. If I learn this technique, will I have a good ending? The nine-tailed divine fox did not say anything. Instead, she turned into a red light and returned to Li Fan's body. This Li Fan was too smart. He actually saw through her little trick. Nine-tailed divine fox, let me test your strength. Li Fan put one foot down and stood steadily on the balcony. The surroundings of the mansion were very empty. There were almost no people around. Li Fan used his strength without worry and increased his inner strength to the limit. At the same time, he made a contract with the nine-tailed divine fox in his heart and transferred her strength into his body. A dark red light emitted from Li Fan's body. Then, 3 foxtails formed from red energy grew out from his back and waved slightly. This was the nine-tailed divine fox's power. Li Fan looked at his hands and could clearly feel the difference in this power. His strength had doubled, rising to the level of the 10 sages. According to the nine-tailed divine fox, this was enough to be called an inferior immortal. Slap! In the sky beyond heaven, a celestial immortal suddenly opened his eyes. In the lower realm, I sensed an immortal level power. The moment he spoke, the surrounding celestial immortals exclaimed. How is that possible? What a joke! How can a human reach the level of an immortal? It's the power of our spokesperson, right? Aren't you being too sensitive? Shut up! The celestial immortal who spoke first cursed. It's up to you whether you believe me or not. This person will be our greatest threat. Let Hua and you go take a look. Someone suggested. If they find him, execute him on the spot. Chapter 1575. Li Fan gathered the nine-tailed fox god's power and instantly increased his strength. The surrounding air seemed to tremble as if it was afraid of Li Fan's power. Li Fan was not stupid. He instantly retracted his power and returned to his original appearance. This power was already in the immortal realm. Using it rashly would definitely alert the sky beyond sky. Li Fan retracted his power in time and the two inferior immortals lost their target. Ha! That powerful force has disappeared. Jade looked left and right. That power disappeared from his detection range. I'll go take a look. Flower was about to go but was pulled back by Jade. No need. Maybe he has already left. Let's report this to the higher-ups. He doesn't come with good intentions. A person who had the power to rival the sky beyond sky could not be underestimated. Could he have cultivated the true immortal tactics? Flower could not help but mutter. Her beautiful face was filled with confusion. If it's the true immortal tactics, then it's easy to deal with. Jade laughed coldly. Mortals who have learned the true immortal tactics are just our cauldrons. The lower realm only has the true immortal tactics, right? Why don't I go investigate? All right. Jade thought about it. You go investigate. I'll report to the higher-ups. However, if you find someone who has cultivated the true immortal tactics, do not touch him. Keep him, he will be useful in the future. Got it. Stop nagging. Flower waved her hand impatiently. Jade turned around and summoned her treasure. An immortal sword. She stepped on it and left. Flower continued to control the petals to carry her body. She flew close to the ground and slowly approached the almost empty villa area by the sea. The power just now came from this side. Seems like it's here. There were many villas here, but Flower sensed that there was only one villa with the presence of people. Let's go take a look. Flower thought and instantly arrived at the location of the villa. As a result, she saw a familiar face at the villa. Li Fan. Ha! A girl from the sky beyond sky. One stood on the balcony while the other floated on the ground. The two looked at each other. It's you. The flower immediately became vigilant and stared at Li Fan like a tiger watching its prey. You actually broke through the level of a human. At that moment, the white tiger suddenly flew out and jumped into the air. Then, it released a white light. In the blink of an eye, an oval-shaped light enveloped the surroundings. The area was about 100 square meters, surrounding them in the center. 10 minutes. Miss White Tiger whispered into Li Fan's ear, "Restrain this girl, or else the people from heavens beyond will know about you. At that time, there will be thousands of troops coming to suppress you." Got it. Li Fan said that it was fortunate that Miss White Tiger was by his side. You want to keep me here? The flower also saw through Li Fan's thoughts. She sneered, "Stop dreaming. You'll know once you try." For 10 minutes, Li Fan did not dare to hesitate at all. He immediately gathered his strength and allowed the nine-tailed divine fox to attach itself to his body. In an instant, 3 red tails grew out from Li Fan's back and swayed back and forth. Demonic arts. Hua Yu frowned and looked at Li Fan. Do you think that you can fight against us after cultivating demonic arts? I originally did not want to attack you, but since your strength has already broken through the heavenly Tao, there is no longer such a restriction. Human, die. With that, the flower extended her hand and a beautiful rose suddenly appeared in the air and slowly rotated. However, Li Fan did not dare to underestimate it. He could feel a terrifying power from this rose. Go! The flower touched her rose and a ray of light immediately spread out. Immediately after, vines quickly flew up from under Li Fan's body and wrapped around Li Fan's body. Humph! Li Fan's hands were like blades as he used the Thunder Dragon Heavenly Punishment's Thunder Dragon Coiling Mountain to split apart the vines on his body. Where do you think you're going? The flower activated her demonic arts and tried to use the vines to capture Li Fan again. However, Li Fan used the dragon traversing 9 heavens and instantly appeared behind the flower. Under the enhancement of the 9-tailed divine fox's power, Li Fan felt that his strength had increased by leaps and bounds. It was even a little difficult for him to control. He originally wanted to appear behind the flower, but he didn't manage to stop in time. His whole body slid 3 to 4 meters away. This won't do. Thinking of this, Li Fan immediately dispersed the 9-tailed divine fox on his body. The 9-tailed divine fox's voice sounded in his ears. "What are you doing? Without me, how are you going to defeat this inferior immortal? Darling, don't mess around. Let's work together to defeat her." However, Li Fan had already dispersed her power and returned to his original strength. "Hee, do you think you can defeat me with just your own strength?" The flower curled her lips as if she did not take Li Fan's strength seriously. If she could not use demonic arts, this Li Fan was just an ordinary person. How was he going to fight her? She controlled the vines and wrapped them around Li Fan again in an attempt to tie him up. However, this time, the vines only wrapped around Li Fan's afterimage. The real Li Fan had appeared next to the flower at some point in time. What? The flower was shocked. She immediately turned around and the rose in her hand exploded with an emerald green power. She shot it toward Li Fan. It was like a green laser that shot out in an instant. However, Li Fan moved his body and easily dodged the flower's attack. At the same time, Li Fan punched the flower's lower abdomen. Although the flower practiced immortal arts, her body was not made of steel. This time, the flower curled up like a shrimp and spat out a mouthful of bitter saliva. Her whole body was sent flying and she lay on the ground. However, the flower used an immortal art and made the petals support her body. She stood in front of Li Fan again. However, Li Fan appeared again. He raised his leg high and swept it horizontally like an axe, heavily kicking the flower's head. How could the flower withstand such an attack? She immediately flipped and flew up. In the blink of an eye, she spun 360 degrees and smashed into the ground beside her, creating a large pit. Time was precious. Li Fan would not waste a single second. He quickly came in front of the flower again and prepared to give her a fatal blow. However, the flower floated up again. At the same time, the dazzling red rose slowly spun in front of her. An emerald green barrier condensed in front of the flower, blocking Li Fan's footsteps. This is the emerald barrier. Just you alone won't be able to break it. The flower looked at Li Fan mockingly, her eyes full of mockery. Although he had hit her a few times, she was still an inferior immortal. Who knew how many levels higher than him? She had a noble bloodline. How could she lose to this guy? At this moment, Li Fan had already raised his palm and slapped his emerald barrier. Chapter 1576. 15 Success Force, Mystic Dragon Ice Palm, overturning the heavens and stirring the seas. Li Fan used all his strength in this palm strike and directly slapped the jade barrier released by his opponent. Ridiculous. Flower sneered. You think your attack can break through my... Before she could finish speaking, her jade barrier suddenly began to freeze. Then, where Li Fan slapped, the barrier shattered like glass. This allowed Li Fan's palm to break through the barrier and hit Flower's lower abdomen. Pfft. Flower spat out a large mouthful of blood and flew backward, landing heavily on the ground. Li Fan's attack was like a destructive force that made Flower suffer. Her internal organs were in a mess, and it was difficult for her to stand up. Celestial. Li Fan sneered. He stood in front of Flower, crossed his arms, and looked at her lying there. You guys have only practiced some long-range techniques. Once I get close, you guys are no match for me. Li Fan was very satisfied. He had too much combat experience. Although Flower's attack was powerful, it was useless if it couldn't hit him. Speaking of which, the relationship between the two of them was a little like that between a mage and a warrior. Mages were naturally very powerful at long range, but as long as Li Fan used brutal charge to break the opponent's magic shield, the opponent would be at his mercy. Moreover, this so-called celestial's body wasn't very sturdy and couldn't withstand a few hits. Right now, Flower was already seeing stars and couldn't get up for a long time. It's almost time. Finish her. Miss White Tiger reminded Li Fan. The nine-tailed divine fox was still in a daze. She didn't even expect that Li Fan could defeat someone from the realm beyond heaven without relying on his own strength. This man was indeed extraordinary. Don't be too proud. The flower used the last of her strength to cry out. She knew that she was just too careless. Although this human was just an ant, his close-range attacks were very terrifying. Even she couldn't take all of them head-on. If he got close to her, it would be her death. Only by distancing himself from him could he guarantee his victory. Thinking up to this point, the flower activated her celestial power, and an antique bronze mirror suddenly flew out from her body and floated in the air. What's that? Li Fan was stunned for a moment. He thought to himself that this flower was too much of a show-off. She even brought a mirror with her when she came out to fight. Reverse. The flower shouted. Then, everything began to rewind. The flower relied on the mirror to return the sealed space to 10 minutes ago. As soon as she arrived, Big Sis White Tiger released her protective shield. Li Fan also swayed his 3 fiery red foxtails and stood in front of her. Without waiting for the flower to react, Li Fan's figure suddenly disappeared, and then appeared behind her in an instant. Then, carried by inertia, he slid 3 to 4 meters away. In the next second, Li Fan removed his spirit fox possession and readjusted his battle stance. I won't be careless this time. The flower smiled contemptuously. Then, she activated her rose. In the blink of an eye, several green lasers shot toward Li Fan from afar. However, the lasers only hit Li Fan's afterimage. The flower didn't dare to delay. She activated her rose, causing the lasers to shoot wildly. However, Li Fan kept moving between the gaps of the lasers, avoiding every laser attack. He didn't panic and actually arrived in front of her bit by bit. Jade barrier. The flower turned pale with fright. She hurriedly activated her jade barrier, subconsciously trying to block Li Fan. 150% strength, Black Dragon Ice Palm, upheaval. Bam! Li Fan shattered the barrier and sent the flower flying again. Reverse. The flower didn't dare to delay. She quickly activated the Ancient Mirror's ability again, returning time to 10 minutes ago. Li Fan swayed his 3 foxtails and disappeared again, then slid out from behind the flower. At this moment, the flower activated her skill. Jade barrier. First layer, second layer, third layer. This time, she decided to protect herself and drag out the 10 minutes. As long as she could hold on for 10 minutes and wait for the others in the realm beyond Avalon to discover her, she would definitely be able to defeat this damned human. The jade barrier exerted 3 times its usual strength. The flower poured almost all of her celestial energy into it, hoping that it could protect her well. This was a 3 times barrier. This time, the human wouldn't be able to break it again, right? 150% strength, Supreme Dragon Fist, 100% hits. However, this time, Li Fan used a new skill. In a short instant, he punched more than 100 times. Every punch landed on the barrier, causing it to tremble continuously. Cracks gradually appeared on it. The defensive barrier, which was 3 times stronger, was finally broken under the crazy bombardment of Li Fan's fast fists. One of the punches landed on the flower and sent her flying. Reverse. Before the flower fainted, she once again used this power to reverse time and space and returned to 10 minutes ago. Her body immediately recovered to its peak state. Cold sweat appeared on the flower's forehead. Looking at the swaying three tails of Li Fan, she actually did not know what to do. He was clearly immortal. Why was he able to render her helpless? The flower really could not understand. She could only use the power of the ancient mirror again and again, constantly readjusting the loss of control. She maintained a 10-minute cycle in an attempt to reverse this battle and defeat this damned mortal. However, he seemed undefeatable. Paw! After repelling the flower, the moment the flower released the ancient mirror, Li Fan suddenly stretched out his hand and grabbed the ancient mirror. Following that, his vital energy covered the ancient mirror and blocked the flower's mental control. No! The flower let out a wail. I felt that something was strange. Li Fan held the ancient mirror. You must have done something to this thing. We only fought for a short while, but I feel like a long time has passed. This is the space-time reversal mirror. Miss White Tiger was pleasantly surprised when she saw the mirror. Legend has it that the person who uses this mirror can reverse time for 10 minutes. Unbelievable, how could such a treasure be in the hands of an inferior immortal? Return it to me. The flower's face contorted. She urged the rose to release thousands of green lights that shot towards Li Fan. However, what kind of person was Li Fan? How could he be hit by such a move? Dragon traversing the 9 heavens. 9th stage body. In an instant, Li Fan transformed into 9 figures, confusing the flower's vision. The flower had no choice but to shoot randomly. However, she only hit Li Fan's afterimages. Over here. Li Fan's voice sounded from behind the flower. Without waiting for her to turn around, Li Fan's palm had already struck the flower's neck. Chapter 1577. The time reversal mirror was a mystical treasure from the sky beyond heaven. Li Fan holds this ancient mirror and tries it out. As long as he injects his essence into the mirror, he can turn back time by 10 minutes. Although it is magical, it is not suitable for multiple uses. According to Miss White Tiger, using it once will shorten his lifespan by 1 year. Using it is equivalent to using a year's time in exchange for a chance to take medicine for regret. For ordinary people, they would only dare to use it 7 or 8 times before they would not dare to use it again. But for immortals who have almost endless lifespans, there is no limit. As for Li Fan himself, because he ate a dragon, his lifespan is several times longer than ordinary people. He would not feel the pinch even if he used it once or twice. On this ancient mirror, it completely reflects how precious time is. Foolish mortal, quickly return the treasure mirror to me. Flower is locked in White Tiger Pagoda under the sea. This is where Miss White Tiger used to live. Because of the exposure of the seaside villa, Li Fan can only bring the 4 sword servants back here. There is also a unique place to imprison prisoners in White Tiger Pagoda. Even immortals can be locked up and even rely on unique chains to suppress the power of immortals. Flower is chained in the cage and can only be like ordinary people. She can only use her eyes and stare fiercely at the despicable human in front of her. You are already like this and you are still so arrogant. Li Fan is very helpless. These so-called inferior immortals are more arrogant than the other. You think you are higher than humans? We are already several evolution levels higher than humans. Flower ridicules Li Fan. A long time ago, we, the residents of Sky Beyond, were all residents of a cultivation planet. Our civilization and culture are many times higher than you humans. On our planet, humans will not destroy natural things. Humans will only cooperate with nature, absorb the power of nature and become one with nature. It sounds nice, but it is just absorbing the resources of your planet and turning them into your energy. Li Fan, on the other hand, exposed the secret of the flower with a single sentence. What outer heaven? What immortal? You came all the way here only because the energy of your planet has begun to dry up, so you were forced to embark on the path of interstellar travel. You and your people came to Earth and discovered this place. Earth is just one of your colonies. You lowly races, your civilization was started by us. The flower immediately shouted, when we descend here again, it will be the time of your death. I know that the day you break your oath and conquer Earth is not far away. Li Fan was already prepared. But you have to remember one thing. We Earthlings are not free. If you come, I will naturally dare to beat you back. Ignorant and arrogant. The flower sneered. We've already found a spokesperson. He'll help us complete the plan to wipe out the humans. Once all the humans have been cleansed, we can once again descend upon this continent and take over your land. Humans, haven't you noticed? Earth has already been ruined by you. Only we can save this planet. Earth is very good. Li Fan says, no matter how harsh the environment, Earth has been through it. Humans may have caused some damage to Earth, but there are people who have begun to reflect and turn around to love our scarred mother planet. I believe that one day, Earth will once again shine. Humans are extreme and selfish. Will they really save Earth? Humans aren't saving Earth, but themselves. Li Fan says firmly, and I am willing to protect such humans. You're ridiculous. The flower looks at Li Fan mockingly. If an ant stands in front of you and says, I want to protect my ant nest and not let you humans use it as farmland, what will you do? You'll only laugh and then stomp that poor ant to death. Ant? Li Fan curls his lips. Then someone like you who was defeated by an ant, isn't that even worse than an insect? Don't be so arrogant. The flower chokes with anger. Our spokesperson will be here soon. He's very powerful. He'll take revenge. Revenge? What kind of person is Li Fan? His brain is very sharp. Even Jiang Feng, when plotting against Li Fan, would have to think twice. This flower is inexperienced. With just one sentence, Li Fan is able to catch the flaw. This person has enmity with me. Wait. Ancient time reversal mirror, spokesperson, powerful, revenge. Li Fan squints his eyes and stares at the flower. You guys, resurrected martial emperor Liao Ju. The flower trembles slightly when he is stared at by Li Fan. Isn't this man a bit too scary? Just this one sentence of mine, actually allowed him to guess about the martial emperor's matter. What nonsense are you thinking? It's not him. Looks like you know about martial emperor. Li Fan is even more certain of his thoughts. That's right. As my opponent, as your spokesperson, martial emperor is indeed qualified. You guys need him to work for you, but you can't let him go out of control. This means that you guys have taught him 2 levels of the true immortal arts. After spending time with Bai Lin Luo, Lin Yuhsian, Lu Zhu, these extremely intelligent people, Li Fan's brain is getting better and better. His analysis causes Hua's heart to palpitate. How can there be such a monster among the humans? Could he be the nemesis of Sky Beyond Heavens? Impossible. Sky Beyond Heavens is incomparably powerful. It is not something that these humans can imagine. As long as a heavenly immortal comes, they can crush this guy with one finger. Even if he is proud of his success, he won't be able to be proud for long. Doomsday is about to descend upon this world. Even if you are a little smart, so what? Even if you defeat me, so what? The flower starts to attack Li Fan. In sky beyond heavens, there are countless people with my level of strength. Those who are stronger than me are as many as the hairs on an ox. There are a total of 8 heavenly immortals who are as terrifying as the heavens and earth. The 8 of them all have the ability to destroy heaven and earth. If they want to kill you, they only need one breath. Sounds powerful. Li Fan is unmoved. Since that's the case, why don't you get them to come down and kill me? Don't be anxious. Doomsday is not too far away. The flower warns Li Fan one last time. When the time comes, I will personally see how you die. So stubborn. Li Fan shrugs his shoulders. Then let's wait and see. He didn't get much information from the flower, but Li Fan doesn't mind. There is still a long way to go. He can slowly get information from the flower. The threat of sky beyond heavens will not disappear. Li Fan decides to use this time to properly practice his spiritual beast possession ability. Chapter 1578. Li Fan practiced day and night, training himself to adapt to the power of the spirit beast possession. As one of the 5 sages, once the 9-tailed divine fox possessed his body, his power would immediately double. This sounded good, but it was actually a little difficult to do. There was a limit to a person's ability to adapt. When Li Fan used the power of the 5 sage, because he had trained it bit by bit, it was very easy. However, once he entered the spirit beast possession state, his strength would double, and Li Fan would find it difficult to control. No matter how good his ability to adapt was, he would not be able to adapt to the power of the 5 sage when the power of the 9-tailed divine fox dissipated. It was like a person skating or swimming alone. When he was skating, he would adjust his balance. When he took off the ice skates, he would feel a little light. It was the same when he was swimming. When people came out of the pool, they would feel especially heavy. This was because they had adapted to the buoyancy of the water. It was the same for Li Fan. After adapting to one kind of power, he would not be able to adapt to another. Therefore, Li Fan could only train his other ability, and that was to adapt to the new power faster. As long as he could adapt to his new power in a few seconds, he would be able to greatly increase the battle power of the spirit beast possession. The last time he fought with the flower, it was really too dangerous. Fortunately, the flower was not an outstanding martial artist. If it was Jiang Feng, Liao Ju, or Murong Bo, they would have immediately seized the opportunity when he was skating to launch a fatal attack. There was still some time before the Huaxia martial arts competition. Li Fan used this time to fully train himself. After a month, Li Fan finally compressed the time he needed to adapt to the new power to 5 seconds. The time he could use the spiritual fox's power was extended to 10 minutes. With these 10 minutes of explosive power, Li Fan believed that it was enough for him to defeat his opponents. Of course, if there were too many enemies, 10 minutes was obviously not enough. However, after 10 minutes, Li Fan could still use the power of the white tiger. This way, he could increase the battle time for Li Fan. 10 minutes of the spiritual fox, 10 minutes of the white tiger, that was 20 minutes. However, Li Fan still felt that it was not enough. He needed to subdue another type of power. It's about time. We should head to the next sanctum. Noticing that Li Fan's strength had grown a lot, Miss White Tiger's voice sounded again. Let's go to the Azure Dragon Pagoda. He should be missing you by now. The Azure Dragon's successor had some ties with Li Fan. In the past, Li Fan had fought with him to protect Dragon Girl. It's about time we meet and catch up. Li Fan nodded. Miss White Tiger, how long will you be accompanying me this time? I'm going back to rest now. Big Sis White Tiger stretched her body. Didn't you say that killing the White Tiger's successor would resurrect you? Yes, resurrection is resurrection, but it's only a portion of the power. I'm still a little sleepy and lazy. Miss White Tiger looked at Li Fan lazily. Only after you conquer all the sanctum and completely resurrect the 4 saints can we officially resurrect. Alright, then let's go. To go to the Azure Dragon Pagoda, Li Fan even informed Li Jiao to let Dragon Girl lead the way. If he let Bai Lin Luo make the arrangements, Dragon Girl should arrive at the White Tiger Pagoda under the sea very soon. According to the information sent by his clone, Li Jiao's construction was getting better and better. In order to attract foreigners, Li Jiao adopted the policy of Singapore back then. The government paid for public rental housing and then sold it to foreigners at a low price. To them, Li Jiao was willing to give them a place to settle down, so they were naturally willing to work hard for Li Jiao. Perhaps in this generation, they would still be concerned about their motherland. But in the 2nd and 3rd generations, these descendants would take root in Li Jiao and think that they were Li Jiao's people. In the past, there was a wave of descendants of the island country in the United States. They were all the 2nd and 3rd generations of immigrants. During World War II, because of the island country's sneak attack on Pearl Harbor, the United States actually ordered all the island country immigrants in the country to be imprisoned and sent to concentration camps. The 2nd and 3rd generations of the island country in the concentration camps firmly believed that they were Americans and wanted to fight for the United States. After that, they finally fought for an opportunity. These island country descendants were organized into a 100 independent infantry battalion and sent to the European battlefield. The descendants of the island country immigrants had the bloodline of the island country's martial artists. When they fought, they were not afraid of death, which made the German soldiers on the European battlefield tremble with fear. Li Jiao used such a method and used such an example as a reference to cultivate future Li Jiao immigrants. Dragon Girl was also very comfortable there. Li Jiao had immigrants from various countries, and they also brought with them the delicacies of various countries. This girl lingered on the food festival every day. If her body was not a dragon, she would have already eaten so much that she would have become fat. When Bai Lin Luo used his ability to teleport her to Li Fan's side, the little girl was still holding a Mexican chicken roll in her mouth and blinked at Li Fan. Damn, why did I come to you? I need some help from you. Fuck you, my Turkish Rugiamo is almost ready. You have to compensate me. Dragon Girl beat Li Fan, and Li Fan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Okay, I have to go take care of business. It's time for us to attack Azure Dragon Tower. Counting the days, it seems like it's about time. Dragon Girl pinched her fingers. The little girl shook her head and put on a mature appearance. In 2 days, Azure Dragon Tower will open. Then why do you still care about eating? Why didn't you come to find me? You're eating too happily. Dragon Girl stuffed the chicken roll into her mouth and then licked her lips. There's nothing delicious around you. Who said so? Li Fan smiled. I have Chiao in my hands. Who dares to clamor with me about food? Right. If you want to leave, then leave. Why did you take Chiao away? Quickly return her and cook for me every day. You little girl. You call yourself my mentor, but now you've become a lazy glutton. Ahem, I'm checking Li Family Island's diet for you. Dragoness argued irrationally. What if someone has ill intentions towards your Li Family Island and poisons you? What would you do then? I sacrificed my health to test poison for you. You should be thanking me. Yes, thank you. Then do you want to go back and continue testing poison, or bring me to Azure Dragon Tower? I can bring you to Azure Dragon Tower, but I want to borrow Chiao for 3 months. Chiao who was standing at the side, immediately cast a resentful gaze. She was not willing to leave Li Fan. 1 month. Li Fan also knew that the little girl was greedy, so he began to bargain. 2 months. Deal. Chapter 1579. The Azure Dragon Pagoda was located in the east of the Central Plains, in a mountain forest in Hebei. These sacred towers would only open the passage to the outside world at a specific time. Other than the owner of the tower, other visitors could only enter and exit at this time. Under the lead of the Dragon Girl, Li Fan passed through the forest and arrived in front of the Azure Dragon Pagoda. As expected of one of the 4 legendary pagodas, the Azure Dragon Pagoda was 300 to 400 meters tall and towered into the clouds. The body of the pagoda was carved with lifelike divine dragons, as if they were guardians guarding this sacred tower. You have seen the Azure Dragon before. This person is arrogant and conceited. Perhaps this will be your weakness in defeating him. The Dragon Girl reminded Li Fan, when the time comes, you will be in charge of fighting. I will be in charge of eating and watching the show. Alright, Li Fan knew the habits of the Dragon Girl. As a dragon, this girl was wholeheartedly focused on eating and did not care about other things. Although she was Li Fan's mentor, she only taught Li Fan a few moves. Now that Li Fan had retired, he was no longer the Shangfang sword. This girl did not say that she would return to China and personally choose the next Shangfang sword. If the Dragon Girl did not teach the skills, it would be difficult for a new Shangfang sword to be born. However, the Dragon Girl just said that Li Fan had already learned everything about the Shangfang sword. If there was a new candidate, he would be the one to train. However, the training was only a part of it. The current Shangfang sword had chosen many people to try, but they were all rejected by the sword. General Ran could only grit his teeth and swallow the headache from the Dragon Girl's attitude. China could not do without the Shangfang sword, it could not do without the guardian of China's gate. When the time comes, protect yourself. Li Fan walked towards the sacred tower and reminded the Dragon Girl. Do I need you to say that? Do you think that this lady is a burden? The Dragon Girl snorted, then extended her hand and summoned the Shangfang sword. I still have this thing, this is the divine weapon that killed the 4 saints. This time, don't insist on it. Obediently use this sword to chop the Azure Dragon and end it all. This woman's violent nature was not alleviated at all. In any case, I have plenty of time. I'll slowly play with this Azure Dragon successor. Li Fan intended to train his abilities because the sanctum was a unique existence. No matter how much of a ruckus he caused inside, no one from beyond Avalon would notice. Speaking of which, it was like a signal blocker. Alright, let's go in and meet our old friend. Li Fan led Dragon Girl and prepared to enter the tower. When he stood in front of the tower and saw a pile of rubble, he immediately frowned. There were guards in front of the sacred tower. He had seen them at the White Tiger Tower before, so Li Fan was ready for battle. In the end, he only saw broken stones on the ground, which was a little strange. What's going on? Why are there rocks everywhere? Someone beat us to it. Li Fan's expression turned serious. There was actually someone who was attacking the Azure Dragon Pagoda. Enter by mistake. Or was it intentional? Quick, let's go in and take a look. Li Fan was a little anxious and stepped into the Azure Dragon Pagoda. Hey! Wait! Before Dragon Lady could stop Li Fan, he had already stepped into the pagoda. This idiot. I haven't finished speaking yet. Dragon Lady wanted to cry but had no tears. At this moment, Li Fan was standing in the hall of the Azure Dragon Pagoda. There were countless clocks hanging on the walls around him. When Li Fan stepped into it, he immediately felt the ancient mirror he was wearing tremble as if it was resonating. Then, the clocks on the walls suddenly stopped, and a green glow immediately wrapped around Li Fan. When Li Fan regained his vision, he was sitting up on the bed. Everything around him was a little familiar, but there was also a sense of unfamiliarity. Still sleeping. Get up and wash your face and teeth. A voice that he hadn't heard for a long time sounded in his ear. Li Fan turned his head and saw an average-looking middle-aged woman wearing an apron used by housewives. She waved a frying spoon in her hand and shouted at him. "Ma! Mom!" Li Fan cried out involuntarily. "Why are you here? Did you sleep too much?" The middle-aged woman glared at Li Fan. "You only know how to play games every day. Let me tell you, if you don't do well in this midterm exam, I will smash your computer. Get up." With that, the middle-aged woman went to cook for Li Fan. Li Fan stood up in a daze and looked at the scenery in front of him. This is Li Fan's house, yes, but it has 4 bare walls. His room is not big, only 5 square meters. Other than a bed, there is only a study table. On the table is an old computer. It was thrown to him by a relative who could not sell it for a high price. This computer left a deep impression on Li Fan. After all, it was an old computer that could be stuck for half an hour playing LOL. Back then, he played LOL on this computer and met Muronging. But everything returned to the beginning. Could it be that everything that had happened was just a dream of mine? Li Fan touched behind him and touched the pillow. He immediately felt something hard. He touched under the pillow and immediately felt a cold mirror. Treasure mirror. What is the specific name of this mirror? Miss White Tiger said it before, but Li Fan forgot. He only remembered that this mirror has the effect of reversing time. But the mirror can only reverse time for about 10 minutes. It is impossible to reverse time for several years, right? Li Fan carefully thought for a moment. He suddenly remembered the wall clocks he saw in the Azure Dragon Tower and began to guess. Clock. Time. Every sacred tower has its own unique ability. Could it be that this Azure Dragon Tower has the effect of reversing time? But how can I break out of this situation? The dragon girl is not by my side, no one can tell me what to do. At that time, I seem to have heard the dragon girl calling me from behind. But what to do? She did not say. Li Fan touched the treasure mirror, trying to awaken the power of time on the mirror, so that he can return to the tower. But the mirror did not respond at all, as if it is just an ordinary mirror. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and get up. His mother rushed in and lifted the quilt. A chill hit Li Fan's body, dawdling, I don't know who you got it from. Why are you holding a mirror? Don't be smug. His mother snatched the mirror and threw it to the side. Fortunately, this is a treasure mirror. It did not break when it fell to the ground. Li Fan had no choice but to obediently get up, endure the cold, and begin to put on his clothes. He checked his body in the mirror. It is very thin, just like himself in the past. At this time, he did not learn any martial arts. Li Fan wanted to give a high kick, but his leg could not be raised halfway. It was extremely sore. Damn it. What should I do? Chapter 1580. Li Fan changed into his school uniform. This was the slimmest uniform in school, but it was still very loose on Li Fan. He used to be very weak. Otherwise, he would not have been bullied in school. Li Fan sat in front of the folding table in the living room. He looked at the plate of scrambled eggs with tomatoes, millet porridge, and steamed buns. He did not know why, but his eyes suddenly became moist. At this moment, his mother had not been moved by Murong's family's sugar-coated bullets. Although she was very strict with herself, she would wake up early and return late every day. She would cook, wash, and do housework for him. It had been a long time since he had such a life. Li Fan now had a lot of responsibilities, but he could not be filial by his parents' side. This made Li Fan feel a little guilty. At this moment, looking at his busy mother, Li Fan really wanted to say thank you, but he could not say it. Chinese people were actually like this. When chasing a girl, they could shout, "I love you," over and over again, even if the other party did not have feelings for you. However, in front of his true love, he could not say these mushy words. "What are you looking at? Did you sleep too much?" His mother walked over and reprimanded Li Fan, "Hurry up and eat. After eating, go to school. Look at that Lin girl. Her mother and I are selling pancakes at a stall. That girl does not have to worry about us. Her grades are good, and she is the top student in her grade. When can you let me be at ease for once? Let's not talk about other things. Can you pass your math? Mom, I know I haven't done well. I will try my best in the future." Li Fan's words made his mother stunned for a moment. This kid usually liked to talk back. He had a strong rebellious mentality. What was wrong with him today? Did the sun rise from the west? Why was he so polite to her? His mother subconsciously reached out and touched her son's forehead. "It's not hot. Mom, I'm full. I'm going to school." Li Fan picked up his bag and set off on the road to school. He should still be in second high. A year 1 student. Based on what his mother said just now, she seemed to know Lin Yuhsan's mother. He had never paid attention to this matter in the past. Seemed like his ill-fated relationship with that last Lin had long begun. Li Fan had only taken 2 steps when a little girl wearing the same school uniform as him, with a ponytail swaying, followed him. "Little Li, wait a minute." "Fong. Fong Xiaoxue." When Li Fan saw this little girl, his body suddenly trembled. A memory that had been hidden in the depths of his heart for a long time was torn open just like that, once again appearing in front of Li Fan. Fong Xiaoxue was Li Fan's neighbor. She was 1 year younger than him. She was not very beautiful. She was rather delicate and had a very cheerful personality. She had known Li Fan since he was a child. The relationship between the two families was also quite good. In the past, when they ate and drank together, their families had even decided to let the children of the two families get married in the future. At that time, Li Fan and Xiao Shui were still young and did not pay much attention to this matter. However, Xiao Shui was very close to Li Fan. She always followed behind Li Fan and played with him. As he grew older, Li Fan became thinner and weaker, while Xiao Shui became more and more lively. When they were young, Li Fan took care of Xiao Shui. Now, it was Xiao Shui taking care of Li Fan. Xiao Shui's wish since she was young was to become a police officer. Therefore, during the holidays, she followed her mother to work at a stall and used the money she earned to learn some ladies' wrestling and grappling techniques. She ran over and hugged Li Fan's shoulder. "Little Li, why did you go out so early today?" Xiao Shui leaned on Li Fan's body. Her fragrance floated into Li Fan's nose. "I went to your house to look for you. I didn't expect you to run away first." "What's wrong, hiding from me?" "How could that be?" Li Fan's nose turned sour again. Almost subconsciously, he gently stroked Xiao Shui's cheek. Xiao Shui's skin was still white and smooth. It felt good to the touch. But for Li Fan, this was not the point. The point was, she was still alive. What are you doing?" Xiao Shui's face suddenly turned red. She was flustered and pushed Li Fan away. But Li Fan was too thin and weak at this time. He was immediately pushed by Xiao Shui and fell on his butt. "Aya, are you okay?" Xiao Shui was shocked. She quickly reached out and pulled Li Fan up again. She even patted the dust off his body. Who asked you to suddenly touch my face?" Fong Xiaoxue pretended to be fierce. She stared at Li Fan. How dare you? Did you watch too many movies? Sorry. I was a bit rude, just now. Li Fan couldn't help himself, so he did that. Who was Fang Xiaoxue? She was a girl who had accompanied him for the past 18 years. He always had this girl's shadow by his side. From a delicate girl next door, she became a natural and unrestrained girl. You. Why are you so weird today? Fang Xiaoxue looked at Li Fan. Her face was still a little red. Anyway. If you touch me again, I'll beat you up. This beat you up didn't seem to be threatening. Xiaoxue, what? Nothing. Let's go to school together. Li Fan suddenly remembered this day. It was on this day that he made the most regretful mistake in his life. The two of them walked towards the school. At this time, a person suddenly rushed out and bumped into Li Fan. Li Fan staggered and was supported by Fang Xiaoxue. Are you crazy? Don't you have eyes? Fang Xiaoxue had a bad temper. She immediately scolded the man who ran over. Catch the thief. A woman's cry came from behind. He stole the money for my child's doctor. I beg you, help me catch him. The woman cried miserably, but no one moved. The passers-by were all cold. However, Fang Xiaoxue didn't hesitate and chased after the thief. Li Fan frowned and grabbed Fang Xiaoxue's hand. What are you doing? Don't go. You've disappointed me. Fang Xiaoxue shook off Li Fan's hand and chased after the thief. Scenes of the past replayed in Li Fan's mind. Fang Xiaoxue chased after the thief, but she was stabbed to death by the thief and his accomplice with a dagger. When Fang Xiaoxue died, her hand was still tightly holding onto the stolen purse. However, the two thieves were nowhere to be found. Even the stolen woman wasn't willing to testify in court. Xiaoxue's death was not worth it. She didn't even know who to sue. In the end, the school used Xiaoxue as a negative example to tell everyone not to meddle in other people's business. As for Xiaoxue's parents, one was mentally ill, and the other was addicted to alcohol. Later, when they were driving, they drank too much, and the whole family crawled under the truck. This incident was a shadow hidden in Li Fan's heart. Chapter 1581. No matter when, Li Fan couldn't let go of this matter. Therefore, Li Fan could only hide this matter deep in his heart and pretend to forget it. He usually didn't think about it, but now that it was torn open and laid out in front of him, it made Li Fan's heart hurt again. This time, Li Fan didn't do what he did in the past. He didn't stand there coldly like the others, waiting for the nosy little girl to subdue the thief. They didn't care if the girl had the ability to catch the thief. They only cared if they would be late for work, and if they could buy the newly released iPhone. The company's Xiaoli was young and beautiful, and her position was higher than mine. She must have an affair with the boss. Whether time really went back, or all of this was an illusion, Li Fan's body returned to its previous level. He ran desperately, and when he reached the end, he didn't have much strength left. Li Fan saw Fang Xiaoxue standing at the entrance of the alley. In front of her was the thief, and behind her was an accomplice. Both of them held knives in their hands and stared at Fang Xiaoxue fiercely. Why are you here? Fang Xiaoxue looked at Li Fan worriedly. At this time, Li Fan was lying on the wall next to her, gasping for air. His physical fitness was really bad before. He only ran a few hundred meters, and he was already so tired. His lungs felt like they were about to explode. Every time he breathed, there was a feeling of needles stabbing him, which made him extremely painful. You too, don't be nosy. The thief waved the butterfly knife in his hand and shouted fiercely at Fang Xiaoxue, if you don't get lost, I'll take your life. Ah! 2 little thieves, come and stab me if you dare. Fang Xiaoxue moved her muscles and bones. If I don't beat the shit out of you two today, my surname isn't Fang. You little girl, the money isn't yours. Why are you trying to be a hero? The thieves seemed to be a little anxious. How about this, I'll give you half of the money, and you let me go. How about that? Split your ass. Fang Xiaoxue admired the police the most. How could she accept a thief's bribe? At this time, the faint sound of a police siren could be heard. It seemed that someone had called the police, or perhaps the patrolling police were just passing by. The thief was a little anxious. He threw the bag on the ground and turned to run away. Where do you think you're going? Fang Xiaoxue did not want to let him go. She wanted to catch the 2 thieves and bring them to the police station. Fang Xiaoxue stepped forward and grabbed the shoulder of the thief in front of her. Then, she twisted his arm backward. After all, Fang Xiaoxue had trained before. The thief was exhausted from running and was forced to kneel under the pressure. Fuck, let him go. The accomplice behind her panicked. He held a knife and stabbed it at Fang Xiaoxue's back. This wasn't a butterfly knife, but a paratrooper's knife that he had obtained from who knew where. No one would be able to endure it if this thing pierced into their bodies. Back then, little Snow had been stabbed in the back by someone. Fang Xiaoxue was busy subduing the one in front of her. Although she had some training, she had no experience in dealing with these thieves. She didn't know that the thief was panicking, so he didn't hold back. He didn't even notice that someone was attacking him from behind. However, Li Fan saw it. Although he didn't have the strength to subdue the accomplice, he used all his strength and slammed into him. Pooh! Li Fan slammed into the other person's chest. The paratrooper's knife didn't fall on Fang Xiaoxue's body, but it stabbed into Li Fan's lower abdomen. Fuck, Li Fan smiled bitterly. A sense of powerlessness gradually grew. It was as if he could hear Fang Xiaoxue's screams in his ears. Then, everything quickly left him. When Li Fan opened his eyes again, he was back in the room where he started. Get up. It's time for class. Li Fan heard his mother's yell. He subconsciously felt under his pillow. Sure enough, the mirror was there. Going back in time. Li Fan knew that if he died, he would return to the beginning of time. His mother came over again to yell at him to get up and go to school. The table was still filled with scrambled eggs with tomatoes, millet porridge, and steamed buns. After Li Fan went out, he saw Fang Xiaoxue as he wished. At that moment, Fang Xiaoxue didn't know what would happen in the future. She directly grabbed Li Fan's neck and talked to Li Fan like a tomboy. What's wrong with you? Why are you so quiet? Did Xiao Dong bully you again? Don't be afraid. I'll help you deal with him. That kid has been itching for a beating. I'll teach him a lesson. Xiao Dong was Wang Chang's follower. He was a sports student and often bullied Li Fan. No. Ouch, my stomach hurts. Li Fan decided to stall for time. As long as he could stall for time, Fang Xiaoxue wouldn't die. As for the woman who was robbed, he was really sorry. When Fang Xiaoxue was in trouble, he didn't show up. This kind of person wasn't worth Fang Xiaoxue using her life to help him. What's wrong? Fang Xiaoxue looked at Li Fan worriedly. She knew that Li Fan's body wasn't very good since he was young. Was he sick? Let's go. I'll carry you to the hospital. Fang Xiaoxue didn't say anything. She carried Li Fan on her back and ran in the direction of the hospital. Both of their families weren't very well off. Naturally, they couldn't bear to take a taxi. In order to prevent Fang Xiaoxue from encountering such an accident, Li Fan followed her heart and started to pretend to be sick. Fang Xiaoxue carried him all the way to the nearest hospital. The doctor examined Li Fan from front to back. Li Fan even pretended to have chronic appendicitis in some parts of his body. "You brat, you always skip meals and use money to surf the internet." On the way, Fang Xiaoxue was still scolding Li Fan. "You're not allowed to do this in the future. I'll supervise your diet. From now on, eat with me at noon every day." "Yes." Although Fang Xiaoxue looked fierce, Li Fan was happy. Fang Xiaoxue could finally survive. Would the future change as a result? When he arrived at school, Li Fan even felt that Wang Chang and Zhao Dong were much more pleasing to the eye. Until night, Li Fan lay on his bed and fell asleep with a smile. No matter what, he had solved one of his wishes. Those cultivation methods were still there. At worst, he could start all over again. He would definitely be able to meet Murong Ying and find Lin Yuhsin. This was a different kind of rebirth. He could practice yin and yang reversal as soon as he came up. His strength could advance by leaps and bounds. Li Fan fell asleep happily. When he woke up, he heard his mother shout, "Get up! We're going to be late." Li Fan excitedly sat up. As a result, he reached out and felt the mirror under his pillow. Li Fan's face turned pale. He purposely put the mirror in the drawer last night. In order to prove his idea, Li Fan ran outside and looked at his mother's cooking. Scrambled eggs with tomatoes, millet porridge, yellow steamed buns. Chapter 1582. Even if the family was poor, Li Fan's mother still paid attention to his diet. Therefore, every morning, Li Fan had a fixed menu, which was rotated once a week. On Monday, it was scrambled eggs with tomatoes and millet porridge. On Tuesday, it should be steamed eggs with bread. Wednesday, milk cake. Thursday, Li Fan felt his heart was particularly heavy, his body was extremely heavy, and his head was also a little dizzy. What was going on? Was he going to live like this for the rest of the day? What was the pattern? Who could tell him? Li Fan was not in the mood for breakfast. He casually ate a few mouthfuls and left the house. Not long after, he stopped. Sure enough, Fang Xiaoxue's figure chased after him. She walked to Li Fan's side, and with that familiar movement, she grabbed Li Fan's shoulder. "What's wrong? Why is your face so pale? Did you stay up late playing games last night?" "Xiaoxue, nothing, you're crazy." Fang Xiaoxue's elbow was on Li Fan's chest. Li Fan was really confused. He followed Fang Xiaoxue almost mechanically, walking towards the school. He had indeed successfully saved Fang Xiaoxue the day before, but this endless day had not ended. Why? Li Fan could not figure it out. What was it for? Was this day going to last forever? Impossible. No matter how powerful the Green Dragon Pagoda was, it could not create a dead end. There had to be a way to resolve this situation. Every pagoda had to be conquered. For example, the condition to conquer the White Tiger Pagoda was to win the so-called war chess game. And this time, what was the condition for his victory? The Dragon Lady was not here, and no one told him. He had to guess by himself. But his brain was not enough. What a headache. If only he had Bai Lin Luo, Lin Yuxian, or Lu Zhu, these monstrous geniuses, to give him advice and suggestions. Li Fan was vexed, but as time went on, the robbery happened as usual. The thief ran past Li Fan. Li Fan stretched out his leg and tripped him. Fang Xiaoxue didn't understand what was going on at first, but when she heard the woman's cries behind her, she immediately understood. She pressed on top of the thief and subdued him. The street was bustling with activity. The thief's companions hid themselves, not daring to show themselves. Lily, you did well just now. After leaving the police station, Feng Xiaoxue kept praising Li Fan. I didn't expect you to be so brave. I have a whole new level of respect for you. Xiao Shui, I will definitely save you. Li Fan's thoughtless words stunned Feng Xiaoxue for a moment. She reached out and touched Li Fan's forehead for a while. It's not hot. What's wrong with you? It's okay. We've been delayed for so long. Let's go to class. Li Fan and Feng Xiaoxue walked all the way to the school, but when they passed a small alley, they were suddenly blocked by 4 people in front and behind. Li Fan was very familiar with one of them. It was one of the thief's companions. Lily. Don't be afraid, Feng Xiaoxue felt that they were not friendly. She protected Li Fan behind her and stared at the 4 people. What do you want? Feng Xiaoxue scolded. You want to fight? I'm not afraid of you. Nosy little girl, you've hurt my friend very badly. The thief's companion weighed the iron rod in his hand and sneered at Feng Xiaoxue. If I don't teach you a lesson today, you won't know the price of being nosy. Lily, I'll buy you some time. Run quickly. Feng Xiaoxue lowered her voice and said to Li Fan. Li Fan didn't say anything. He picked up a wooden rod from the side. It was about 1 meter long and seemed to have been taken from a bench. What do you want? Run quickly and help me when you find the police. Feng Xiaoxue was a little anxious. I told you, I'll save you. Although the other party only used a rod, it was hard to guarantee that they wouldn't use a knife or something if they were really anxious. Li Fan didn't want anything to happen to Feng Xiaoxue, so he could only make a move. Although Li Fan did not have the slightest bit of inner force and his physical fitness was not good, his combat experience was integrated into his mind bit by bit. Some moves couldn't be used, but it didn't matter. Li Fan still had other moves that he could use. Dragon subduing 12 swords. In this set of sword technique, some moves that needed to be matched with Qinggong couldn't be used, but there were some basic sword moves that could still be used. What nonsense are you talking about? Quickly run. Feng Xiaoxue was really anxious. At this time, a big man had already walked to Li Fan's side. He was holding a baseball bat in his hand and his mouth was sneering. Idiot, who do you think you are? As he said that, he waved the baseball bat. Let me teach you what a cruel society is. The big man saw that Li Fan was wearing a school uniform and was so thin and weak. He didn't put him in his eyes at all. However, Li Fan's body slightly lowered and easily dodged the big man's attack. Your movement is too big. As Li Fan said that, the wooden bat in his hand suddenly stabbed forward and directly hit the big man's throat. Woo woo. The big man covered his throat and knelt down. He couldn't speak for a long time, and his face was red. Feng Xiaoxue was shocked and couldn't believe her eyes. Behind Li Fan came the sound of wind. Another big man had already grabbed a folding stool and was aiming at Li Fan's head. Li Fan quickly turned around and leaned against the wall, dodging the big man's folding stool. At the same time, the wooden bat in Li Fan's hand stabbed out again, directly into the big man's armpit. The big man screamed in pain and dropped the stool. And Li Fan raised his foot and kicked him in the face, flipping him over. So tired, after barely using 2 moves, Li Fan felt his whole body was sore, and his breathing was a lot rougher. His current physical fitness was too poor. He really couldn't not train well. Bang! Feng Xiaoxue threw over her shoulder, throwing the big man who sneak attacked from behind to the ground in front of her. The thief's companion was trembling. He didn't have any sense of loyalty. He threw the bat and ran away. Are you really Shaoli? Fang Xiaoxue came over to check on Li Fan's body. She saw that he was sweating a lot and was gasping for breath. I read some martial arts magazines or something. You can't blindly train. You will damage your body. Do you understand? Fang Xiaoxue didn't think much of it. After all, Li Fan's physical fitness was there. Don't mess around in the future. You sit here for a while. I will call the police to arrest them. Li Fan and Fang Xiaoxue were busy at the police station for the whole day. At night, they went home to sleep. When he woke up in the morning, Li Fan touched the mirror under his pillow. Sure enough, he had returned to the beginning of the incident. Li Fan's expression didn't look good. It seemed that he had to think of a way. Chapter 1583. After going out, as usual, Li Fan ran into Fang Xiaoxue. This time, Li Fan used another method to make Fang Xiaoxue follow him to school from another route, successfully avoiding Fang Xiaoxue's death. No matter what, Li Fan could not let Fang Xiaoxue be killed. When he arrived at school, Li Fan was still frowning. How am I supposed to solve this crisis? Is this cycle of reincarnation really going to be an eternal nightmare for me? Damn it, every time this happens, I miss Lin Yuhsian and the others. Unfortunately, they are not by my side at this moment, and they can't help me at all. Wait, Li Fan suddenly understood something. Who said? Lin Yuhsian is not by my side. Although she didn't know him now, her mind was still as smart as before. As long as I can make her understand my current predicament, she will definitely be able to help me. Li Fan suddenly became excited. He waited for school to end at noon, then quickly ran to the empty classroom on the 5th floor. Lin Yuhsian's family was very poor, and she had very few friends. So, every noon, she would take homemade pancakes and hide in the empty classroom to secretly eat them. This was something Lin Yuhsian told me a long time later. Others did not know about this, but it was exclusive to Li Fan. Li Fan avoided Xiao Dong. He realized that this guy was in a bad mood, and seemed to want to vent on him. This was how it used to be. Every time Xiao Dong was unhappy, he would vent on Li Fan. Later, when Li Fan killed Wang Cheng, he did not even dare to fart. Originally, Bai Lin Luo was one of Li Fan's targets, but on that day, Bai Lin Luo was homesick, so Lin Yuhsian was his only choice. After Li Fan avoided Xiao Dong, he quietly went upstairs from the other side of the building. There were many empty classrooms on the 5th floor, and they were self-study rooms. The key to one of the classrooms was in Lin Yuhsian's hands. The teacher had specially given it to her, so she could study here at noon. As the top student in the grade, Lin Yuhsian always had some special treatment in school. Lin Yuhsian. Li Fan was a little anxious, and he pushed open the door to the self-study room. The little girl was eating a pancake when someone suddenly pushed the door open. She was startled and the pancake in her hand fell to the ground. "Ah, sorry." Li Fan laughed dryly. This was a bit unexpected. He was too anxious, and he had ruined Lin Yuhsian's lunch. "Don't be angry, I'll make you 2 pancakes later." "Who are you? What do you want?" Lin Yuhsian looked at Li Fan warily and put her hand in her pocket. "If you dare to come any closer, I'll call the teacher." "Stop fooling around, you don't even have a phone." Li Fan's words made Lin Yuhsian even more nervous. How did he know I don't have a phone? Did he investigate me? Who is this student? Lin Yuhsian, don't misunderstand, I'm not a bad person. Li Fan saw the alertness in Lin Yuhsian's eyes, and he quickly explained, even though we don't know each other, our mothers are business partners. We're friends who work together, he tried to explain, but Lin Yuhsin did not let down her guard. Lin Yuhsin, I really don't mean any harm. What do I have to do to make you believe me? Li Fan did not have much time to explain, so he decided to cut the Gordian knot. Student, you suddenly barged into this classroom with that fierce look on your face. How do you expect me to believe you? Hey, are you hurt? How am I fierce? Li Fan pointed at his face. I'm obviously kind and amiable, okay? What are you trying to do? Lin Yuhsin was still suspicious of Li Fan. As the young girl spoke, she quietly moved toward the back door of the classroom. She only moved a little at a time to make sure that Li Fan couldn't see through her speed. She prepared to escape. Okay, I'll tell you the truth. Li Fan stretched out his hands to show his surrender. I actually came back from the future. We're friends in the future, that's why I know you so well. Chinibu. There are 2 moles on the left side of your lower abdomen. You actually hate eating pancakes at home because you like to eat spicy food. Your birthday is on Christmas, but you never celebrate your birthday because it's a waste of money. You don't like to make friends because making friends also costs money. You have to give each other gifts and celebrate various holidays with each other. In addition, your dream is to become a psychiatrist. Because your father has a history of mental illness, he's still locked up in a mental hospital, so you want to cure him as soon as possible. In addition, you've self-taught the first 2 years of psychology courses in university. The person you admire the most is Freud, and your favorite book is his analysis of dreams. You're a pervert. Lin Yuhsin looked at Li Fan with a somewhat horrified expression. Hey! This is what the future you told me. Li Fan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Does Lin Yuhsin think of me as a stalker? Okay, I believe you. Lin Yuhsin suddenly sat down on the seat next to her and looked at Li Fan very seriously. I told you, WTF. You believe me. Li Fan also didn't expect that Lin Yuhsin would be so easy to convince. He already had all kinds of plans in his mind on how to convince this almost demonic girl. Because you did tell me a few secrets that others don't know. Lin Yuhsin crossed her arms and looked at Li Fan. How many years later did you come back from? 2 years. 3 years. What? How did you know? At most 3 years. She can even guess this. More or less. Why did you come back to the present to find me? What kind of crisis do I need to help you solve? Do you want me to help you figure out how to leave this time-space and return to your original timeline? My God. Are you really not a monster? The Lin Yuhsin from a few years ago was still frighteningly smart. Li Fan said that to be liked by such a smart girl, it's like a blessing from his ancestors' grave. How did you figure it out? Li Fan didn't understand and wanted to ask. It's very simple. Lin Yuhsin said, first of all, you told me a secret. This secret, from the beginning until now, I plan to only tell my future half. So, you're either my boyfriend or the person I like. But from your age, you should be older than me by 2 or 3 years. I'm not a big uncle fan or a Shota fan, so it means that we're the same age. So, your age determines the time you come back. It's that simple. Chapter 1584. Lin Yuhsin's judgment was almost spot on. She relied on her own intelligence, as well as her absolute trust and control of her own character. Even if this woman had the slightest bit of doubt towards him, she would not be so resolute and decisive. Why is my eyesight so bad? Lin Yuhsin curled her lips, to actually find such a fellow. Li Fan was speechless. This lass was simply too much. She actually started to criticize him, and she even had a look of dissatisfaction. Not waiting for Li Fan to finish his explanation, a shout came from outside. Lin Yuhsin. My Xiao Xianxian. Where did you go? Lin Yuhsin's face turned pale. She immediately said to Li Fan, if you are really the person I like, then help me get rid of him. The owner of this voice was not someone else. Li Fan remembered it very clearly. Hua Dehong, the son of second high school's principal. Like a fly, he pestered Lin Yuhsin to the point that he thought that Lin Yuhsin was his exclusive property. Now that he had returned to his first year of high school, Hua Dehong had yet to meet his martial arts self. He was still in the stage of pursuing Lin Yuhsin. Li Fan nodded his head and walked to the corridor and shouted. Hua Dehong, scram. Lin Yuhsin is mine. Fuck your mother. I think you are tired of living. When Hua Dehong heard Li Fan's provocation, he flew into a rage. In this school, he was known as the little tyrant. He was used to being domineering in school. Ever since he said that he liked Lin Yuhsin, who would dare to have any thoughts towards Lin Yuhsin? This skinny monkey in front of him actually dared to tease his woman. Your father, will beat him until he doesn't dare to come to school. Second high school is the little tyrant Hua Dehong's, world. Hua Dehong rushed in front of Li Fan in a few steps. He had practiced some Japanese kung fu before. He directly aimed at Li Fan's chest and kicked out fiercely. Although Li Fan's body was thin and weak, he had many years of combat experience with him. In his eyes, Hua Dehong's kick was much slower. He moved to the side and avoided Hua Dehong's kick. Then, he stretched out his hands, grabbed Hua Dehong's calf, and pulled him back. Gotcha! Hua Dehong was dragged and had to do a big split. His pelvis almost cracked, and he screamed in pain. However, Li Fan's knee flew up and directly hit Hua Dehong's face, causing Hua Dehong to faint. Done. Li Fan kicked open the door of the self-study room next to him. These classrooms had been in disrepair for a long time, and the doors had long been tattered. Li Fan tossed Hua Dehong in, then dusted his hands and returned to Lin Yuhsin's classroom. As for Lin Yuhsin, she stood in front of the window and secretly watched the whole process. I've completed your task. Now, isn't it your turn to help me? What will happen to him in the future? Lin Yuhsin pointed to the classroom next door and asked. I broke his leg, and his father lost his job because of me. Second high school was completely reformed and became a good school with students as the main focus. Li Fan gave a brief explanation. You should have practiced kung fu. Looking at Li Fan, who was slightly out of breath, Lin Yuhsin continued to make a judgment, but after returning to the past, your body is not used to it. So even a little movement will consume a lot of your strength. Yeah, my evildoer Lin, don't analyze me. Let's talk about business. Li Fan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Okay, tell me about your matter first. I'll see if I can understand. There was an hour and a half for lunch break. Moreover, even if Lin Yuhsin didn't go to class, the teacher wouldn't care about her. Which teacher in the school didn't know that Lin Yuhsin had already finished studying all the high school courses? Her learning efficiency in the self-study classroom is often higher than in the classroom. As for Li Fan, he reincarnated for an unlimited amount of time in this day. Therefore, it doesn't matter if he goes to class or not. As long as Fang Xiaoxue is alive, it's more important than anything else. Li Fan looked at the young lady in front of him who had a face full of wisdom. He told her about his challenge to Azure Dragon Pagoda, as well as the treasure mirror that can turn back time. Tell me about your past few reincarnations. Lin Yuhsin took out a pen and seemed to be writing something on the paper. She drew lines one after another as if she wanted to prove something. After Li Fan finished talking about his past few reincarnations, Lin Yuhsian thought hard for a while. The young lady propped her head on her chin. Occasionally, she would write a few strokes and occasionally look out the window. How about this? Lin Yuhsian made a request to Li Fan. You go through another 10 days of reincarnation. In these 10 days, you have to go through different routes. I won't stop you from choosing the route. After 10 times, you can find me again. According to today's order, talk to me again. Then, tell me your records for the past few days. Another 10 times. Yes. Lin Yuhsian nodded her head. As long as it's 10 times, I will be able to prove my theory. Can't you say it now? No. Lin Yuhsian shook her head and emphasized, any theory needs to be proven through practice. According to the theory of relativity, if your time here is constantly reincarnating, then your time outside should be constant. So, don't be afraid of wasting time. Go and prove my theory. Li Fan believed in Lin Yuhsian. Since she requested it like this, he could only obediently do as she said. Then, Li Fan went through another 10 days of reincarnation. Every morning, he would wake up and touch the mirror. Then, he would eat a nutritious breakfast on Monday. Then, he would meet Feng Xiaoxue. He would drag her to play video games, go shopping, or even secretly watch a movie. It didn't matter if he couldn't afford the movie tickets. Li Fan relied on his little tricks to sneak into the movie theater. For a whole 10 days, Li Fan seemed to be on a date with Feng Xiaoxue. It was just that the method of each date was different. But no matter what, Feng Xiaoxue seemed to be quite happy. In the future, you can play, but you're not allowed to skip class anymore. The last time, Feng Xiaoxue was still the same as usual. Her face was flushed as she reminded Li Fan, otherwise, I won't accompany you anymore. After Li Fan told Lin Yuhsian about his 10 experiences, the little girl sat in front of the table and looked at Li Fan with a strange expression. What's wrong with you? Are you doubting me? No, I'm doubting my own judgment. Lin Yuhsian muttered, it seems like you really like this Feng Xiaoxue. Why would I like a playboy like you? If you're really the one I like, why don't you accompany me every day? Lin Yuhsian's straightforward words made Li Fan ashamed. I don't really want to help you. You can go find me next time and see if she's in the mood. Don't, Ancestor Lin, please help me. I can't help you. Lin Yuhsian suddenly dropped such a sentence, which made Li Fan feel like he was struck by lightning. Had all his hard work over the past few days been for naught? Chapter 1585. Even with your wisdom, you can't think of a way. Li Fan hurriedly asked. Lin Yuhsian was his only hope. As for Bai Lin Luo, how would he know where that brat lives? Even if he wanted to find him, it would be too much effort. I have a way, but you can't do it. Lin Yuhsian shrugged her shoulders. Isn't wisdom able to solve everything? If that's the case, why would I need to hide from Hua Dehong? Lin Yuhsian bitterly smiled. Wisdom can change the future, but it can't change the past. Wisdom can change life, but it can't change the human heart. Ancestor, let's not talk in riddles, okay? Fine, then I'll tell you the truth. Lin Yuhsian pointed at the homework paper on her desk. Li Fan took a look. On the paper, there were 3 words, Feng Xiaoxue. What do you mean? You can't be jealous, right? Jealous my ass. I mean, she's the core of this matter. Lin Yuhsian lightly tapped on this name. Don't tell me you still haven't realized. After so many reincarnations, everything else has changed, but what is the only thing that hasn't changed? Li Fan was not an idiot. When Lin Yuhsian said that, he naturally understood. In this process, the only thing that hasn't changed is that Li Fan has continuously saved Fang Xiaoxue. You saved Fang Xiaoxue time and time again. Time and time again, you allowed her to survive from the original timeline. Li Fan, you've said it before. When you saw Fang Xiaoxue alive, you were surprised and missed her. So, her survival has completely changed this timeline. And if I'm not wrong, you feel that this reincarnation is trapping you, but in fact, reincarnation is saving you. What do you mean? Li Fan faintly felt fear. The reincarnation phenomenon is indeed caused by the mirror. It wasn't actually protecting you, it was protecting itself. The power of the Azure Dragon Pagoda should be to forcefully send you back to the past, allowing you to restart your timeline. The amazing thing about the Azure Dragon Pagoda was that in this timeline, you would experience something that you wanted to change the most. If this matter were to change, then in the future, you might lose all of your power. Perhaps, you might even cease to exist. Both are possible. Lin Yuhsan's argument was shocking. In this timeline, the mirror is by your side. If you cease to exist, it is very likely that the mirror will disappear along with you. Therefore, in order to ensure its own existence, it has to constantly modify your timeline, sending you back to the past time and time again so that you can repair your own timeline. In other words, you will have to experience Fang Xiaoxue's death again. Lin Yuhsan's words were like a bell, ringing in Li Fan's ears, causing his body to tremble and his ears to ring. He felt like he couldn't hear what happened next. You can't attack, and you can't dodge. You have to step into this real timeline once again, allowing everything to return to the beginning. That way, I think, you will be able to return to your original timeline. Li Fan sat there and didn't make a sound for a long time, as if his soul had left his body. Lin Yuhsan also didn't say anything. She just sat beside Li Fan and looked at Li Fan from head to toe. Then, she shook her head and continued to study. Lin Yuhsan was studying a newly published psychology book. With her ability, it would only take her 5 to 6 hours to finish studying this book. The remaining time was for her to consolidate her knowledge and find someone to prove it to. An afternoon passed. When Lin Yuhsan raised her head again, she saw that Li Fan, who was sitting in front of her, had a head full of white hair. Lin Yuhsan was silent. Li Fan seemed to have regained some of his spirit. He raised his head and looked at Lin Yuhsan. His lips were a little chapped. It was as if this afternoon had used up his entire life's energy. Your hair has turned white. At this moment, Lin Yuhsan actually felt a little heartache. She seemed to suddenly understand what she liked about this young man. It was just that in the future, he was destined to experience a lot of suffering. It seemed to be a very difficult thing to like such a person. So what if my hair has turned white? It will recover after one night. Li Fan's voice was a little hoarse. But it seems that some things can't be recovered. Take care. Lin Yuhsan also didn't know how to persuade him. Just like what she said, sometimes, wisdom and strength couldn't solve everything. I'm leaving. Thank you. Li Fan deeply bowed to Lin Yuhsan, then slowly walked away with staggering steps. Lin Yuhsan watched him leave. It was as if she suddenly lost her strength. She also felt a little out of breath. So depressing. The next day, Li Fan saw Fang Xiaoxue again and suddenly asked her. Xiaoxue, do you have anything you want to do? Me? Fang Xiaoxue thought for a moment. She suddenly stretched out her hand and pointed to a tall tower in the distance. That was the tallest tower in the province. It used to be the tallest tower in China. Later, Ji City built Canton Tower, which far surpassed its height. It was a private broadcast tower. Inside it was the company of a video platform Big Shot. I heard that there is a revolving restaurant up there. I hope that one day, I can sit there and eat with the person I like. It doesn't matter what we eat. What matters is that we can see the scenery of the whole city. Okay, I will fulfill your wish. Haha, then you should work hard to earn money. I heard that the people who can eat there are either rich or respectable. With our family's financial situation, just thinking about it is enough. Feng Xiaoxue laughed at herself. Li Fan didn't say anything. He went through hundreds of reincarnations. In these reincarnations, he constantly saved Feng Xiaoxue and then went to do something else. Until one reincarnation, Li Fan took Feng Xiaoxue's hand and came to the front of the broadcast tower. I can't get in, Feng Xiaoxue pulled Li Fan. The girl who was usually cheerful and generous was a little timid in this place. After all, there were 2 soldiers standing guard at the door. They were armed with guns and looked very imposing. It's okay, I'm here. Li Fan said as he walked to the side of an SUV and then picked up a work permit from under the car. In Feng Xiaoxue's surprised eyes, Li Fan carefully cut the plastic seal of the work permit, then put his 1-inch photo inside, and then used glue to stick the plastic seal. This technique was very experienced. There was no trace of fraud. How did you do it? Feng Xiaoxue looked at Li Fan, stunned. My sixth sense told me. Li Fan gave Feng Xiaoxue a mysterious smile, then took off his school uniform, took out a set of sportswear from his backpack, and put it on. He brought Feng Xiaoxue and confidently walked past the sentry post. The staff of the broadcast tower often brought guests in. Li Fan had observed for a long time. There was no problem. Chapter 1586. Li Fan took Feng Xiaoxue and easily sneaked into the lobby of the broadcast tower. But it was still difficult to get to the revolving restaurant on the 50th floor. Those who could enter the revolving restaurant were either rich or respectable in the city. They were either celebrities or dignitaries. Under the invitation of the director, they entered the revolving restaurant to talk about business while enjoying the top-notch food here. To enter this restaurant, they needed more than just a work permit. Ordinary staff members were not qualified to enter and exit this place. To enter the restaurant, they needed a membership card. Just come in and take a look. I can't get into the restaurant, right? Feng Xiaoxue pulled Li Fan and wanted to drag him out. It's better not to go in, what if we are discovered? Don't worry, it won't happen. Li Fan gave Feng Xiaoxue a reassuring look. Then, he asked Feng Xiaoxue to wait for him in the corridor for a while, and he turned into a small path on the side. Hurry up and come back. Feng Xiaoxue was like a cute little girl at this time. Her whole body showed a scared expression. I know, just wait for a while. Li Fan had already entered the small path. It was very safe here, there were no surveillance cameras. At the end of the small path, there was only an old warehouse, which had been abandoned for a long time, dirty and messy, absolutely no one would come here. But Li Fan came, he walked to the end of the familiar path, came to the front of the room, and then silently pushed the door open. The warehouse was very messy, rows of shelves were placed inside, dividing the warehouse into several sections. And from the warehouse came a burst of blood-pumping moans, and the sound of flesh hitting each other. If it was an ordinary man, he would definitely go over to see what was going on, but Li Fan was not curious at all. He had already seen who these 2 people were in countless reincarnations. The middle-aged bald TV director, and a popular female host. The 2 often came here to have a tense and exciting affair. Li Fan did not know how many times, but he estimated that it was definitely not a small number. He ignored the director in front of him who was pressing the female host on the table, just reached out and picked up the clothes he threw to the side, and took out a black gold membership card. As long as they had this membership card, Li Fan and Fang Xiaoxue could go anywhere they wanted. He put the clothes back, then turned around and walked back. Although the director had such a membership card, he did not actually need it to enter the revolving restaurant. Who in this broadcast tower didn't know him? The female host was the most famous live streamer on the video platform. Because of her good looks and good figure, many fans liked her. The station head was the leader of the local TV station. He did have a lot of power in his hands, and he often came here to discuss film and television cooperation with the video station. Usually, some of the plans and guidelines that he revealed would allow the video platform to earn a lot of profits. Li Fan couldn't be bothered with their affairs. Right now, the most important thing to him was Fang Xiaoxue. Li Fan left the warehouse. After he came out, he took 2 sets of clothes from the changing room. He kept a suit for himself and gave a white dress to Fang Xiaoxue. You. Where did you get these? Fang Xiaoxue was a little dizzy. Today's Li Fan made her very surprised, but also very happy. Did he painstakingly help me manage all of this? Change into these clothes, Your Royal Highness the Princess. Li Fan made a bow to Fang Xiaoxue. I have already prepared a banquet for you. Look at you. It's quite like that. Fang Xiaoxue looked at the polite Li Fan and slightly blushed. She took the dress and walked to the bathroom. After a long time, she finally changed her clothes and shyly walked out. Fang Xiaoxue, who had changed into a white dress, looked like a new person, causing Li Fan to be a little stunned. As the saying goes, clothes make the man. Fang Xiaoxue was originally quite good-looking, but she had always been dressed up and only wore some boys' clothes, so she did not show her beauty. Today, she changed into a white dress, but the beauty that she had hidden for a long time was brewed like fermented wine, causing Li Fan to be a little drunk. How is it? Does it look good? It looks good. Li Fan recovered after a long time and nodded his head. It's very beautiful. You are not a princess, you are a goddess. Go to hell. Even if you praise me, I won't be happy. Fang Xiaoxue's heart was also beating very fast. Li Fan was really different today. Dressed in a suit, he seemed to have a fatal charm. He was him, but he was also not like him. Oh right. Fang Xiaoxue carefully pulled up the hem of her dress. I'm afraid of the cold. So I'm still wearing long johns. Is it okay? It's okay, let's go, goddess. Li Fan held Fang Xiaoxue's hand, got into the elevator, and walked up to the 50th floor. The elevator directly opened in the center of the 50th floor. As soon as the door opened, 2 attendants stood outside and bowed to Li Fan and Fang Xiaoxue. Li Fan did not say anything, he just showed them his black gold card. Respectable sir, this way please. A waitress hurried over to greet them. They had received professional training, and the black gold card was a top-notch membership card. Those who held this card were either wealthy or respectable people in the city. They were either their children or their family members. Looking at the 2 people in front of them, they should be the young masters of some family. Sir, is this your first time here? Yes. Li Fan maintained his cold arrogance. He squeezed Fang Xiaoxue's hand hard, calming the trembling little girl down. Give me a jazz song. Li Fan's attitude was like an old driver who had been here many times, maintaining his understanding of the place. Seeing him like this, the female attendant was even more certain that he was the young master of some family. Before coming, his family had already informed him. French cuisine, menu. Sir, we provide a total of 13 dishes of French cuisine, is that okay? Fang Xiaoxue secretly pulled on Li Fan's sleeve, lowered her voice, and whispered in his ear, making Li Fan's ear itch and a little numb. So many dishes. Can we finish them all? Li Fan lightly tapped on the back of Feng Xiaoshua's hand, then nodded to the attendant. Then, under the guidance of the female attendant, they came to a seat by the window. The restaurant was slowly rotating. In comparison, it was like the city below was rotating. It looked a little magical. Feng Xiaoshua looked at the city below, her eyes blurred. She could not even believe that everything in front of her was real. "My goddess, do you want to dance with me?" There was a band playing next to them, and Li Fan suddenly extended his hand to Feng Xiaoshua, inviting her to dance. Chapter 1587. Feng Xiaoshua was a little nervous. She didn't know how to dance. However, Li Fan guided her and danced. The restaurant was spinning, the city was spinning, and Feng Xiaoshua's heart was also spinning. Li Fan. Is this really okay? Feng Xiaoshua was in Li Fan's arms. Although she was dancing, her heart was pounding. "Well, you are a goddess today. Enjoy it." Li Fan felt Feng Xiaoshua's temperature. At this moment, it was as if the whole world was quiet. Feng Xiaoshua was the only one left beside him. Nothing else existed. It would be great if time could stop. Feng Xiaoshua said with some reluctance. Well, what a pity. Li Fan accompanied Feng Xiaoshua until she returned home. After waking up the next day, Li Fan returned to the original time. He took out the mirror under his pillow, glanced at it, and then put it in his pocket. It was still Monday's breakfast, scrambled eggs with tomatoes. Li Fan had already eaten it without any taste. Even if it was a delicacy, he would get tired of eating it for a few days, not to mention scrambled eggs with tomatoes. He didn't even know how many days he had eaten it. Li Fan walked out of the room. Feng Xiaoshua greeted him happily like hundreds of times before. She hugged Li Fan's neck. "Little Li, why are you up so early today?" "Well, I went to bed early yesterday." Li Fan looked at Feng Xiaoshua and showed his usual smile. Let history return to the right track, let everything continue. Lin Yuhsan's method was right. It was the only way. Although Feng Xiaoshua was very important, the dead were gone. Feng Xiaoshua would forever live in the depths of his memory, and the stories of others had to continue. Everything was the same as before. The bag thief appeared, and Feng Xiaoshua chased after him. Li Fan stood where he was, trying his best to restrain himself. Although he was prepared, at the moment when Feng Xiaoshua was about to die, Li Fan was still trembling. His body was trembling, and so was his heart. Lin Yuhsan's words echoed in Li Fan's ears. Wisdom could change the future, but it could not change the past. The Azure Dragon Pagoda was really too hateful. It actually used his feelings to play such an ugly trick. Screams came from afar, followed by police sirens, which were unusually ear-piercing. Li Fan walked over slowly. He saw the police dispersing the crowd and saw a woman being carried onto a stretcher. A hand hung down powerlessly from the stretcher, and together with a precious memory of Li Fan's past, it fell down together with him. The surrounding space suddenly began to tremble. It was as if space was a screen that was rapidly flowing backwards. Li Fan felt slightly dizzy. He looked at the surrounding scenery, and very quickly, the scenery became clear again. He had already returned to the Azure Dragon Pagoda. He actually came back. Dragon Girl stood outside the pagoda. When she saw Li Fan, she could not help but be surprised. However, Li Fan's appearance seemed to have changed. His hair had some white hair, and it was as if he had aged a lot in an instant. Dragon Girl knew that this was a trick of the Azure Dragon Pagoda. In the past, what had Li Fan experienced? At this moment, Li Fan waved his palm. The tallest clock tower in the distance was suddenly carved with a huge palm print, and the clock tower shattered. Fuck! Dragon Girl shouted in distress, "This is the bell of Backtrack. It is a treasure from the primordial era, and you actually broke it just like that. What's the use of keeping such a preposterous thing?" Li Fan's voice revealed a kind of coldness, causing Dragon Girl to shiver slightly. This man seems to have become different. This feeling is not very comfortable. Where is the Azure Dragon? Li Fan's voice reverberated throughout the Azure Dragon Pagoda under the effect of his internal force. He suddenly raised his head and glanced at the top floor. Is it there? Li Fan's feet bounced, and his entire body leaped 7 to 8 meters high. Following that, he landed on the opposite wall of the tower, and began to run while sticking to the wall. He used his superb qigong and quickly approached the top floor. Wait for me. Dragon Girl did not know qigong, but her physique was higher than ordinary people. She jumped onto the opposite wall, and with both hands, she crushed the stone and dug into the wall. Following that, she continued to climb up, following behind Li Fan. Li Fan quickly arrived at the top floor, and what entered his eyes was a huge dragon head. Below the dragon head was a passage that led to the next room. The stone door had already been smashed, and the scattered stones fell on both sides. Li Fan immediately used his qigong and flashed into the dragon's mouth passage, arriving at the next room. This should be the place where the Azure Dragon's successor usually trained. At this moment, he looked somewhat miserable. The armor on this Azure Dragon's successor's body was broken into pieces, and his face was bruised and swollen. He was being held up in the air by a familiar man with one hand. That hand had crushed his throat, and the fingers were stained with blood as they pierced deeply into his neck. "Sorry, you're a step too late." The man in front of him wore a golden red coat, and his clothes were embroidered with noble 9 dragons, showing off his ambition. Liao Ju. Li Fan recognized the other party at a glance, so the person who was a step ahead of me was you. You don't seem surprised to see me. The martial emperor wiped the blood off his hands on the Azure Dragon's body, and then threw his corpse to the side like trash. I just saw a lackey, what's there to be surprised about? Li Fan ridiculed. The martial monarch's thoughts were exposed, and his expression immediately turned ugly. If you can't endure humiliation, how can you achieve great things? Liao Ju said loudly, "How can a sparrow know the ambitions of a swan?" You don't understand me, so I don't blame you. You're making yourself sound so awesome, or are you trying to find a reason to be a dog? Li Fan sneered, causing the martial emperor's expression to change a little. Forget it, since you're going to die soon, I'll just take it as you barking before you die. That's right, what a coincidence. I'm in a bad mood, so I'll take it out on you. Li Fan's voice seemed to come from a cold land, even the martial emperor felt a chill when he heard it. You're really reckless. I've already mastered the immortal technique today, how can a mere mortal like you fight against me? You'll know once you try. Interesting, today I'll tell you what despair is. As the martial emperor spoke, he suddenly activated the immortal power in his body. True immortal technique. Furthermore, it was a complete true immortal technique. The martial emperor was originally a genius in martial arts, and now he had mastered the 7th level of the true immortal technique. A red mark appeared on his forehead. Following that, the immortal power flowed around his body, wrapping around his body. A golden dragon appeared on his left and right. This dragon was around 3 meters long, and it had an arrogant posture as it protected the martial emperor's body. This is the true immortal technique, to cultivate a true elemental immortal dragon. The martial emperor let out a loud laugh. Chapter 1588. Li Fan looked at the golden dragon and his heart moved. This true immortal art seemed to have purified his martial god true body and then used it again. From the martial god true body to a true immortal, this was a little interesting. The change in identity also caused his strength to change. But Li Fan was curious, since there was such a skill, why didn't Hua and Yu learn it, but instead let martial Emperor Liao Ju learn it? What secret was in this true immortal art that allowed Sky Beyond Heaven to control such an expert who was trying to cultivate true immortal power? 5th stage, Yellow Emperor Dragon. Martial Emperor suddenly struck out with his palm, the golden dragon directly slapped towards Li Fan's cheek. 15 Success Force, Mysterious Dragon Ice Palm, overturning the heavens and stirring the seas. Li Fan also struck out with his palm, the white ice dragon whistled out and the two dragons collided. But it was obvious that the ice dragon condensed by Li Fan's essence was not as strong as the golden dragon condensed by the opponent's true immortal power. In just one exchange, Li Fan's ice dragon was smashed to pieces. Powerful. The difference in quality was indeed a disadvantage. It seemed like Li Fan couldn't win against Martial Emperor in terms of energy. But Li Fan didn't only know internal energy, he also had a pure martial art that couldn't be used in actual combat in several generations of reincarnation. Now was the time to use it. Li Fan's figure flashed, and in an instant, he appeared beside the Martial Emperor, and directly kicked the Martial Emperor's head. His kick was also based on the Thunder Dragon Heavenly Punishment. His kick carried lightning as if he was raising a large blade, preparing to cut off Martial Emperor's head. Bam! Martial Emperor's golden dragon directly spun over and used its tail to knock Li Fan's lightning blade away. Moreover, after the golden dragon knocked Li Fan away, it spat out a golden lightning, immediately sending Li Fan's body flying. 6. Li Fan couldn't help but want to praise it. True immortal power was indeed different. Especially the martial emperors, they had rich combat experience. Even the so-called immortal slaves were far stronger than them. Do you see? This is my current power. The martial emperor controlled the golden dragon to circle around him. He looked at Li Fan with a cold smile. The current you is far from being a match for me. Why don't you just obediently wait for death? That way, you'll be able to die a quick death. It's hard to say who will win. Li Fan sneered. It's so ugly. The martial emperor sighed. A person who is unwilling to admit his own failure is the most unsightly. Fine, I will personally destroy your fantasy. As he spoke, the martial emperor raised his hand, and the golden dragon spread open its claws once more before pouncing down towards Li Fan. However, Li Fan's figure flashed as he leapt up. He stepped on the golden dragon's body and quickly arrived at the martial emperor's side. The golden dragon immediately turned around and whipped its tail, wanting to force Li Fan to retreat. But Li Fan used the 1,000-kilogram drop technique and with a thud, he directly landed on the ground, creating a crater in the ground. At the same time, he also avoided the golden dragon's tail. The martial emperor looked at Li Fan who was squatting in front of him. A smile hung on the corner of the other party's mouth. His expression finally changed. Almost subconsciously, he used his hands to block in front of him. But Li Fan raised his palm and instantly avoided the martial emperor's arms and landed on his lower abdomen. Pfft! The martial emperor spat out a mouthful of blood, and then his body flew out. The golden dragon flew over and coiled up in the air. It caught the martial emperor's body and let him sit on the dragon's body. Liao Ju, although you have cultivated this true Yuan immortal dragon, but unfortunately, after using it, you have lost the ability to fight. Li Fan had already seen the martial emperor's weakness. Just like the other inferior immortals, as long as they attack you at close range, you will become like a lady without pants, allowing others to do whatever they want. My golden dragon can naturally protect me. Liao Ju said as he let the golden dragon protect him. At the same time, the golden dragon opened its mouth and spat out a thunderbolt towards Li Fan. With a cracking sound, Li Fan lightly moved his body to the side and dodged the thunderbolt. Sorry, your thunderbolt can't be compared to a real thunderbolt. Li Fan shrugged his shoulders. It's too slow, it's very easy to dodge. Is that so? Liao Ju sneered. Following that, the golden dragon's tail wrapped around his body and its front half suddenly stretched out, waving its dragon claws. It bit towards Li Fan's head. Spirit snake coming out of its hole. No, it should be called Divine Dragon Goes to Sea. This move was extremely fast, almost causing Li Fan to be unable to escape. 15 Success Force, Dragon Subduing Platform. Dragon's Teeth. Almost subconsciously, Li Fan immediately used this set of leg technique. Li Fan's leg technique was both offensive and defensive. Usually, when it was used to attack, it was the most ferocious. But at this moment, when it was used to defend, it was also very effective. Bang, bang, bang. Li Fan kicked a few times in a row. The beautiful continuous kicks were like an evil dragon constantly biting, kicking away the golden dragon that was approaching him. Not bad defense, unfortunately, it's still not enough. As the martial emperor spoke, he suddenly activated his celestial force and increased the power that he exerted on the golden dragon. True immortal power, 9 folds, Yellow Emperor rides the dragon. After evolving to true immortal power, the martial emperor seemed to only know this move. But this move was ever-changing and had endless uses. After the martial emperor unleashed all of his power, the 3-meter-long golden dragon suddenly began to rapidly expand its body. In the blink of an eye, it directly leaped to a length of more than 10 meters. Then, with a claw, it broke through Li Fan's defense and bit his body, sending his body flying out and heavily crashing into the wall at the side. With a bang, the wall split open and Li Fan was knocked into the room next door, lying in the rubble. And the huge golden dragon's claw pressed down on Li Fan's body. It opened its bloody mouth and spat out a bolt of lightning at him. Ka-cha! The lightning struck Li Fan's body, causing Li Fan's hair to explode. Li Fan spat out a mouthful of black smoke. His entire body was in pain. This time, the electric shock he received was not light, almost causing his soul to fly out of his body. Damn, this martial emperor's full power is indeed a bit strong. The martial emperor was a little proud. This was the power of the Azure Dragon that he had obtained. After fusing with it, his strength had increased by so much. Indeed, he had to seize the time to attack the other holy towers and strive to obtain the power to match up to immortals and even heaven immortals. Hee, do you know how powerful I am? The martial emperor stood on the dragon's head and looked down at Li Fan, smiling complacently. This is your fate. To be able to die in my hands, it can be considered that you have died a worthy death. You've fused with the power of the holy beast. Li Fan could feel that within the martial emperor's power, there was the feeling of the Azure Dragon. He had swallowed a dragon and was possessed by the white tiger, so he was very sensitive to the power of the holy beast. So what if I am? You will definitely lose. Chapter 1589. In the eyes of the martial monarch, Li Fan was destined to lose miserably. He was just a small martial artist. How could he compare to him, who had become an immortal? Go to hell. Just as the golden dragon was about to attack, Li Fan's eyes suddenly turned scarlet red. Following that, Li Fan raised his hands and actually lifted the golden dragon up. The martial monarch who was stepping on the golden dragon's head was almost thrown off. 3 golden red tails swayed behind Li Fan's back. In the 5 seconds of being stepped on, Li Fan had already quickly adapted to this state where his strength had doubled. Damn it! The martial monarch was shocked. Where did you get this kind of power? I learned it in order to beat you up. Li Fan's feet shot out and suddenly appeared in front of the martial monarch. The golden dragon immediately raised its head and tried to block Li Fan's attack. However, Li Fan turned around and kicked the golden dragon's head. Boom! The golden dragon flew out and heavily smashed into the wall at the side. Li Fan's strength had doubled, and his speed and strength had also doubled. The martial monarch regained control of the golden dragon and started fighting with him. He realized that he could not do anything to Li Fan. Bang, bang, bang. After a few moves, the golden dragon was forced back by Li Fan, 30% power, Dragon Slaying Terrace, 3rd Prince. Li Fan suddenly stepped on the golden dragon's head with one foot, forcefully stomping its head into the ground. How strong was Li Fan, and how heavy was the golden dragon? With just this one move, the golden dragon's 7 inches was completely embedded into the ground. Pfft! Li Fan raised his other foot high and then chopped down. Like a falling knife, it directly cut through the dragon's head. The dragon's head bag rolled down with a plop and landed to the side. It slowly turned into a golden light and disappeared from the sacred tower. However, when Li Fan turned his head, he discovered that the martial monarch had already disappeared. This old brat seemed to have realized that something was wrong and actually ran away. Son of a bitch, you sure run fast. Li Fan heaved a sigh of relief and dispersed the energy attached to his body. Although the possession of a spiritual beast was powerful, it would also bring some side effects to the body. The longer the time spent in possession, the more tired the body would be. Therefore, it was best to use it as little as possible. Who is that man? Dragon Lady was dumbfounded as she watched from the side. Isn't that a little too strong? His name is Martial Emperor, and he is the Martial Emperor of Jianghu for generations. Li Fan said, he is indeed very strong. If it wasn't for the fact that he is not familiar with the Azure Dragon's power, it is uncertain who would have won today. Li Fan already had a good grasp of the 9-tailed Divine Fox's power, which was why he was able to pummel martial emperors. However, a martial emperor's talent in martial arts was also astonishingly strong. If he was allowed to familiarize himself with the power of this Azure Dragon, perhaps, the outcome of this battle would be difficult to predict. Looks like his target is also the Sanctum. Li Fan sat cross-legged on the ground. The Azure Dragon Pagoda had lost its master, and its power was slowly dissipating. If we want to deal with heavens beyond, we must release the power of the 4 sages. Miss White Tiger once again appeared beside Li Fan and said in a low voice, the other party took away the power of the Azure Dragon. We must kill him in order to revive the Azure Dragon. I know. Li Fan sighed, I didn't expect Martial Emperor's strength to improve so quickly. Looks like I need to find a place to continue my cultivation. The martial assembly was about to begin, and Martial Emperor would definitely have his eyes on the 3rd page of the True Immortal Technique. With Martial Emperor's personality, he would definitely not let others cultivate such a powerful technique. If he did not work hard in his cultivation, he might be defeated in the martial assembly. But you don't have any direction right now. Dragon Lady said, with your own skills, what you need is time. With your yin and yang reverse training, even if you are only given 100 years, even if a heaven immortal from heavens beyond came, you would still have the power to fight. But the problem is that you don't have enough time. How about it? Do you want to consider my method? 9-tailed Divine Fox also flew out and floated in front of Li Fan, showing off her method to him. If you don't want to learn the Heavenly Fox Heart Sutra, I can teach you the Great Brilliant Sun Palm. If you practice this palm technique, you will be able to practice Zhu Xian's martial arts. 9-tailed Divine Fox was scheming in her heart, but Li Fan did not fall for it at all. I actually want to see how those Heaven Immortals and Heaven Immortals fight. Li Fan said his thoughts. After fighting with Martial Emperor today, I seem to have gained some insight. Sooner or later, you will fight with even more powerful people. This is your fate and also your responsibility. Miss White Tiger trusted Li Fan a lot and thought highly of this young man. If not for him, the world might really be destroyed by heavens beyond. Although I'm sorry to involve you in such a terrifying life. But now, I can only rely on you. Miss White Tiger apologized to Li Fan, but Dragon Girl said casually. What's there to apologize for? Who asked him to be the Supreme Sword? Yes, the Supreme Sword that has been removed. Damn, Miss White Tiger is the best. You understand me. Li Fan curled his lips in anger. When I finish practicing my new martial arts, I'll show you that even without the Supreme Sword, I can still defeat heavens beyond. How is that possible? You need a divine weapon to deal with those immortals. The Supreme Sword. Before Dragon Girl finished speaking, her expression suddenly changed. Li Fan, what? Are you hungry? Do you want to beg me for mercy? The Supreme Sword. There's a new candidate. When did this happen? Just now. Li Fan was a little incredulous. Wasn't Dragon Girl always making things difficult for him? Why did the Supreme Sword choose a new successor? I'm not sure either. It seems like this person is too suitable for the Supreme Sword. Dragon Girl pondered for a moment, then said, I'm going back to the Imperial capital, then I'll bring the new Supreme Sword to you. I've said it before, I'll let you nurture the new Supreme Sword. Yes, but I'm going into seclusion for a month. Let's talk about it after a month. Li Fan was a martial arts fanatic, especially at this juncture. He had to control the key power to deal with a martial emperor. In a month, it would be the martial arts conference. He had to successfully defeat all his opponents at the conference. It seemed like there was never any space for him to rest. Then let's meet in a month. Dragon Girl's expression was very serious. Without hesitation, she leaped up and a pair of flesh-colored wings popped out from her back. Then, she leaped into the air and sped away. Holy shit. She knows this. Li Fan was a little surprised. Only ordinary dragons have wings on their back. Miss White Tiger reminded Li Fan with a smile, a real 5-clawed golden dragon can ride on the clouds. Unfortunately, there are no longer 5-clawed golden dragons in this world. Chapter 1590. China's primordial era slowly came to an end as humans came to power. During the Yellow Emperor's era, he led his people to destroy the most powerful witch race. After that, the Shang Fang sword appeared and destroyed all the holy beasts. When it came to Li Fan's generation, not to mention the Magi, holy beasts, and even immortals could not be seen. Even the House of Martial Arts was on the verge of extinction. Li Fan felt that the more civilization developed, the more myths and legends would decline. After passing the Azure Dragon Pagoda, Li Fan returned to the pagoda where Miss White Tiger lived. He felt no pressure here. He could avoid the eyes of heavens beyond. It was very comfortable. Furthermore, there were 4 beautiful sword attendants taking care of his daily needs. He was living a blissful life. Husband, aren't you going into seclusion? Chun-He could not help but ask when she saw that Li Fan was dressed neatly and had no intention of entering the training room on the 2nd floor. Do you need me to prepare anything for you? No, let Chio-Er do it. Li Fan said, before I go into seclusion, I have to chat with our guest. All right. Chun-He was smart and immediately understood Li Fan's intentions. She helped Li Fan call Chio-Er over and accompanied Li Fan to the prison on the 3rd floor. Hua was an inferior immortal from heavens beyond. The immortal who used to be high and mighty had now become a prisoner. I missed you. I'm here to see you. Li Fan, dressed in black sportswear, walked in and looked at the flowers with a smile on his face. Despicable mortal, you still dare to appear. Hua was furious when she saw Li Fan. He was a mortal, but he had imprisoned her for so long. Why wouldn't I dare to appear? Li Fan chuckled. You have good food and drinks here. You have a better life than anyone else. I didn't torture you. Why wouldn't I dare to appear? Pfft. You ignorant mortal, how dare you treat me like this? When the exalted immortals from heavens beyond find this place, they will naturally destroy you. In the past, you all thought that I could not win against an inferior immortal. But look, I have already imprisoned you. Li Fan said. Even if an ascendant immortal comes, I can still defeat him. Nonsense. If you hadn't used such a despicable method, how could you have defeated me? The flower looked at Li Fan mockingly, as if she still did not take Li Fan seriously. It seems that you are indeed unconvinced. Li Fan smiled. Last time when you fought with me, you didn't use your full strength, right? Li Fan could tell from the martial emperor's technique that the power of an inferior immortal was definitely not as simple as what Hua had used previously. This woman might have underestimated him, so she hadn't used her full strength yet. By the time she wanted to use her full strength, she had already been defeated by him. It's good that you know. If I use my full strength, you won't be able to retaliate at all. Alright, I'll give you this chance. As Li Fan spoke, he snapped his fingers. Qiao immediately nodded. After that, she unlocked the chains and placed the flower down. You really have guts. The flower fell to the ground, still unable to believe what had happened in front of her. You actually let me go. Are you tired of living? Come, bring out your strongest power. Li Fan hooked his finger at the flower. Let's fight. Truly courting death. The flower sneered. This time, she does not plan to give in to Li Fan anymore. Thus, with a wave of her hand, a red rose flew out from her head and flew into the sky, continuously spinning and floating. Flower leaf true immortal. The flower's red lips lightly spat out and a huge red rose immediately sprouted from the ground. The red rose bud slowly bloomed, and a 1-meter-tall flower fairy stood up from within. So that's how it is. Li Fan nodded his head. Although it is different from the true elemental immortal dragon, this flower leaf true immortal is also a form that possesses powerful energy. Don't show mercy, kill this man. The flower hates Li Fan to the bone. She actually lost to a mortal and was imprisoned by him for such a long time. She must use his life to wash away her anger. This flower fairy holds 2 swords in her hands and suddenly appeared in front of Li Fan. Swish 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 swish. This flower fairy's speed is extremely fast. In a blink of an eye, she has already stabbed over 100 times. However, Li Fan executed dragon teeth and kicked the flower fairy's swords away. The flower fairy is actually unable to suppress Li Fan's kick. Instead, Li Fan's kick landed on her neck. The flower fairy's body spun and smashed to the side. Li Fan's eyes are currently shining with a red radiance. On his back, 3 foxtails are swaying. These 3 tails seem to be a lot shorter compared to the first time. Demonic art again. No. The flower fairy suddenly frowned. Although she has taken out the stance from that day, she did not release any demonic power from her body. This is my fusion method. Li Fan swings his neck, however, I am still not familiar with it. I can use you to try it out. Damn it, you are actually using me as a target. The flower finally understood. You can say that. Li Fan crooked his finger again. Flower leaf true immortal, kill him. The flower fairy angrily shouted. That flower fairy immediately left behind a few afterimages and appeared around Li Fan. A few of them stabbed at Li Fan together. However, they only stabbed Li Fan's afterimages. The real Li Fan has already jumped up high with both his feet on the ceiling and is looking down. How can he be so fast? The flower fairy does not dare to believe that his speed is faster than her flower leaf true immortal. How is this possible? War dragon roar. Li Fan suddenly let out a loud roar. The flower fairy's body trembled slightly. The afterimages around her also disappeared. The only one left is still in a daze. Flower leaf true immortal. The flower fairy exclaimed. At the same time, Li Fan had already landed. Following that, he used a crescent kick with lightning and landed on the flower leaf true immortal's body. Lightning/third prince. The flower fairy was unable to dodge in time and one of her arms was chopped off. The flower fairy immediately retreated while Li Fan just stood there. The tail on his back was slightly shorter but his hair was much redder. The flower fairy started to tremble slightly. This Li Fan. How did he improve so much in such a short period of time? Why can't I affect him anymore? Not only the flower, the nine-tailed divine fox was the most shocked. In the past, when she used spirit beast possession, it was actually the nine-tailed divine fox using her power to affect Li Fan. However, this time, it was as if Li Fan had taken the initiative to grab her power and use it as a weapon. Flower leaf fairy, use your full power. The flower fairy did not want to lose, so she used her strongest immortal power and sent it into the flower fairy's body. In an instant, red flower petals suddenly floated in the pagoda. Li Fan raised his eyebrows slightly. He also felt that a powerful force was approaching. Chapter 1591. Come on, let me see how strong you lowly immortals are. Li Fan had already maintained the fusion for 8 minutes. He could not persist for too long, or it would affect his bodily functions. Li Fan's current limit was still 10 minutes. World extinguishing myriad flowers. The flower's hair and the hem of her dress all fluttered in the air. The hem of her dress fluttered a little too high. Li Fan looked at the flower's long legs and almost lost his mind. Fuck, this is too despicable. She actually used a honey trap at such a crucial moment. Li Fan retracted his consciousness. At this moment, the flower fairy had already created 49 clones on this level of the pagoda. One by one, they surrounded Li Fan. At the same time, red flower petals fluttered in the air. These flower petals suddenly turned into sharp swords and shot toward Li Fan. Large-scale attacks surrounded Li Fan in the blink of an eye. Humph! Li Fan sneered. Although these flower petals were fast, he had trained under Murong Ying's attacks for a long time. Dragon's teeth. Li Fan kicked with both legs, bringing with him streaks of red lightning. In an instant, he kicked away the flower petals that had fallen in front of him. The lightning was originally blue, but after Li Fan fused it with the power of the fox god, the lightning turned scarlet. Under the fusion of the fox god's power, the nature of Li Fan's power changed. The power of his yuan qi was supposed to be silvery white in color. But now, Li Fan's power showed a red light, as if symbolizing a sense of destruction. Impossible. Seeing that her ultimate move could not even get close to Li Fan, the flower fairy's face stiffened. Level 20, Black Dragon Ice Palm, Upheaval the Seas. Li Fan suddenly struck out with his palm. A strong gust of wind directly hit the flower in the distance. Bang! Hua Hua's body flew out and smashed into the wall behind him. Thanks to the sturdiness of the underwater holy tower, which was reinforced by a special power, its hardness was 10 times stronger than steel. Even so, Hua's body was still embedded in the wall. The pain made her spit out a mouthful of blood. After cultivating an immortal technique, it's time to cultivate your own power into shape. Li Fan's foxtail had completely disappeared. On the contrary, his hair had completely turned scarlet, like a burning flame. After defeating the flower, the power on Li Fan's body slowly dissipated, and he returned to his original appearance. However, his hair was still black and white, making him look a little old. Take you for example. After your power takes shape, you'll become this flower leaf true immortal, right? Damn it, the flower hated itself very much. It had actually lost to a mortal. If you don't merge our arts, how can you be a match for me? Alright, you look too ugly like this. Li Fan walked in front of the flower. I've only cultivated for a few years. You old monsters have cultivated for God knows how many years. How can you talk to me about fairness? You mortals can only live for 100 years. You are already a low-level life form. So what if I live for 100 years? Humans have a short lifespan. That's why we have to continuously struggle and achieve our dreams through the hard work of generations after generations. You're just a struggling worm. Before the flower could finish speaking, Li Fan suddenly stepped forward, grabbed her neck with one hand, and lifted her into the air. Worm. The worm that you're talking about can now pinch you to death. Mortal. You will see the power of the heavens beyond heaven sooner or later. When that time comes, it will be the day that you humans will be destroyed. It won't happen that day. With a wave of his hand, Li Fan threw the flower in front of Qiu Er. Qiu Er immediately used the chains to lock up the flower's limbs. Qiu Er, I'll give you 1 month to get all the useful information out of her. Yes, master. Leave it to Qiu Er. Qiu Er licked her lips. Torture, abuse. She was the best at it. Amidst Hua's indignant roar, Li Fan left the 3rd floor and returned to his own practice room. Sitting in the practice room, Li Fan maintained his usual posture. One foot was on the ground, and the other was raised. At the same time, one hand was facing the ground, and the other was supporting the sky. The Tai Chi diagram started to spin in his body. After spinning 81 times, it would spin 81 times in reverse. Every time a big cycle was completed, Li Fan's inner energy would become stronger. However, this process was too slow. It was so slow that Li Fan could not bear it. If this went on, he would not be able to deal with the upcoming martial arts circle convention. He could only use the power of fusion for 10 minutes. It might be easy to deal with others, but Jiang Feng and the Martial Emperor were all people who had their own trump cards. They would definitely not be easy to deal with. However, the training method of the heavens beyond heaven gave Li Fan some inspiration. The heavens beyond heaven trained the energy outside of the body. It was a little like releasing inner energy. However, once it was released, it could not be taken back. It was more like summoning a god. However, what Li Fan wanted to do was to use this energy to strengthen his body. A martial fighter must cultivate both internal and external martial arts in order to become stronger. What are you thinking about? Seeing that Li Fan was only slowly circulating his energy, Ms. White Tiger flew out again. She turned into a beautiful black-haired, white-clothed woman and stood on Li Fan's left side. Cultivation is done step by step. Although your task is heavy, you shouldn't be in a hurry. Since I rely on you to survive, I will naturally be of great help to you and fight for you. Don't listen to her, my dear. The 9-tailed divine fox also flew out and turned into a beautiful woman in red. She licked her lips at Li Fan. My method is more suitable for you. Fox, are you trying to seduce my brotherly fan again? A huge white tiger suddenly stood up behind Ms. White Tiger before swinging its paw toward the nine-tailed divine fox. Meanwhile, a spirit fox sprang out from behind the nine-tailed divine fox and swept its tail to knock the white tiger's paw away. I'm invincible. Why would I be afraid of a big cat like you? Fox, I think you're asking for a beating. Just as the two of them were about to engage in a fierce battle, Li Fan suddenly spoke up. The two of you, please stop. Only then did the two of them fall silent. They turned around at the same time, wanting to hear what Li Fan had to say. No matter what grudges we had in the past, we should unite against a common enemy now. Nine-tailed divine fox, I know you've always wanted to use me, but we already have a spirit beast contract. Your most important mission now is to help me defeat the heavens beyond heaven. How about it? Do you have any objections? Li Fan asked. No. The nine-tailed divine fox knew that her fate was already in the hands of Li Fan. Big sister White Tiger, you've always been very good to me. I understand that the nine-tailed divine fox does have her own thoughts, and I'll be on my guard against her. However, let's think about how to quickly increase my power. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.